is a great honor to welcome you to Mu'ta University, a university that has become a beacon of enlightenment, development, creativity, and success in higher education, and a leading university in the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, the Middle East, and the world. It is also a great honor for Mu'ta University to bear a name of memorable battle of Mu'tat and to be divided into military wing since 1981 and civil wing since 1986, thus achieving a revolution of military, academic, research, and institutional achievement. This has helped the university be an active and influential party in Jordanian society and to be a leading university in the entire region. In the past 2 years, Mu'ta University has achieved an unprecedented achievement in international ranking. Our partner in organization this workshop is a postgraduate student society of Faculty of Social Science and the Humanity of University Technology Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. When we wanted to collaborate with the postgraduate society in UTMKL, we contacted the society president, Jamila Hanoun, and she was pleased to join us in organizing it. We also thank their advisor, Dr. Wan Farahwani Wan Fakhruddin, and the advisor for all UTM postgraduate students societies, Dr. Noura Binti Muhammad Noor, for their great support. I am proud to mention here that University Technology Malaysia is one of the best research university in Malaysia, and it has a large number of international students. There are students from about 75 countries in University Technology Malaysia. We would be happy to organize more programs together in the future. On behalf of Business School, Mu'ta University, its dean and staff, and postgraduate student society of Faculty of Social Science and the Humanity of University Technology Malaysia and their School of Graduate Studies, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Amin al-Islam for sharing his deep knowledge with all of us here. I would like to introduce the guest speaker today, Prof. Dr. Amin al-Islam. He is a professor in finance at the Faculty of Applied and Human Science, University Malaysia, Perlis. In addition, he is award-winning academic and researcher. He has published about 200 papers and 5 books. He has also produced 20 PhD graduates till now, including me. We are all pleased to have you in this session and looking for another one in the near.
Sorry, doctor, we can't hear you.
Dr. Rula, you have muted. You have been muted. Can you please unmute?
Yes,
sorry, because of the participants. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. From where you didn't hear? Okay. I would like to introduce the guest speaker today, Professor Dr. Amin al-Islam. He is a professor in finance at the Faculty of Applied and Human Science, University Malaysia, Perlis. In addition, he is an award-winning academic and researcher. He has published about 200 papers and 5 books. He has also produced 20 PhD graduates till now, including me. We are all pleased to have you in this session and looking forward for another one in the near future. Our big thanks to UTM for joining us in organizing this webinar and providing the online platform facilities. Please accept our highest appreciation and respect for your collaboration. I am pleased to welcome my partner, Sister Jamila Hanoun Omar, a PhD scholar from UTM, and she will be moderating the question and answer session. Therefore, if you have any question, please leave them in the chat box in WebEx, and the comment section on Facebook. Dear participants, this is a very good opportunity for you to clarify your doubt with the expert in the research field. Without interrupting the flow, please leave your question in the right place. All your questions will be answered one by one. Don't hesitate to ask any question related to the topic. Please keep your microphone muted. We wish you all the best. Thank you. Now, I invite our guest speaker today, Professor Dr. Amin al-Islam. The microphone is yours now, Prof.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rula Al-Halashi, one of my proud graduates. I was the main supervisor, PhD work. It is always pleasing to see my own students getting up. She is having some responsibility at Mota University. And she has been requesting me, I think almost 3 months. She wanted 6 webinars for our university. I told her, I'm sorry, I do have, made promise to some other universities, so I won't be able to do 6, but I will do 2. So I told her I will do 2, right? And then Puan Jamila from University of Technology Malaysia also showing, she approached me, I think during Ramadan. She requested me, can we have 2? I told her, no, I won't give you 2. I will do 1 for you. So I did 1 for her. And now with Mota University, had problem with WebEx and all that. So the ETM said, okay, why not we join as a co-organizer and we provide, the facilities and we organize it together. All right. So Assalamu alaikum and very good morning, very good afternoon, very good evening. When we asked you to fill in the pre-registration form quite late, I think we gave only on Friday, and yet still we have about 650, I think, right, Puan Jamila? 650 pre-registration.
More than that, Prof. Yeah, more than that.
So more than,
yes.
Okay, more than 700 participants registered and over 40 countries, more than 40 countries. So that puts me under pressure. That puts me under pressure. Now I see the participants 587, right? 586 now, going and coming. All right, the topic is interesting, definitely, and very important topic for the researchers who are beginning with their research now, and also researchers who are in the middle of their research, or even researchers who have completed a research and would like to embark on another research. Is equally important for everyone. Even if someone would like to organize a webinar on this topic, I would prefer even to attend this webinar on this kind of topics. Right? Could be there's always room to learn something new. Seeing the overwhelming response to the social media when you posted, so I tried my best to prepare the slides in a way so that it can satisfy variety of participants, different level of participants. I do have the students from undergraduate level, master level, PhD level. I do have some professors also attend my webinars. Last week, there was one of the participants said, my professor would like to attend and seek your permission. I say, it's open, anybody can attend. And I welcome professors to join. They can always correct me when I do mistakes in my presentations. They can always give new insights, so they are most welcome. Those professors are here, PhD holders are here, you're most welcome to give inputs after my presentation. If I do any mistake, definitely you can raise the concern, you can correct me. And if you feel anything to be added, please do so after I finish my presentation. Participants, I would really appeal to you. Please keep your microphone muted, please. Billy Aminu, can you switch off your microphone? Okay. Please keep microphone muted.
Microphone
Please
as well as the video to accommodate more people, please. Video as well as microphone at the moment. We will ask you to switch on those later. Thank you.
Okay, so microphone is the most important one. Please keep it muted, and even the video, if you want to keep muted, would be good so that we can more people can be seen on the screen. Okay, there's no problem on it. All right. So if you allow me, let me share my slides, and we start with a few introductory words. Well, of course, definitely I have to thank the Mota University and University Technology Malaysia for organizing this. But Puan Jamila, many participants are requesting for Facebook Live. So please go on Facebook Live and tag me in my Facebook. They are sending me WhatsApp. The Facebook is not on yet. They want Facebook Live. So put it Facebook Live and tag me so that many participants can join. Ms. Chiang, is that okay? We take your questions after you raise your hand. Is there something very important to say? Okay. So let me share the slide. If you want to get the certificate, you have to fill in the feedback form. Please do so. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
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 Yes, now yes.
Let me go to the slideshow. It's I don't know. It's going to come. All right. Is it visible now?
Yes, Prof. It is.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So those participants are joining from Iraq, Jordan, and some other countries, and you are Arabic-speaking participants. I'm really sorry, my Arabic is not very good. I can read Quran, I do understand little, but I cannot speak in Arabic. So you can put your questions in the chat box in Arabic. Dr. Rula will translate it to me later during the question answer session. I will try to answer that. Okay. So this is the topic for today: identifying research gap and defining research problem through literature review. All right. And I have put my WhatsApp number there. You can WhatsApp me in case if you need any help. And Puan Jamila or Dr. Sonia, if she is in, they will share the link of my WhatsApp group. You can join my WhatsApp group if you need any assistance in case. I do have also a YouTube channel, Platform for Research and Development. That's my YouTube channel. It is dedicated to researchers worldwide. I do have 5,000 subscribers there. Most of them are PhD students. So you can go to my YouTube channel. You can just type Platform for Research Development. You will get my YouTube channel. And if you would like to view, there are many videos. I think about 70 videos are there for you. Let me start with the similar way I do, but I won't spend too long time for this. Those of you who are new, research is basically an organized, objective, and systematic process to study a particular problem that needs a solution. Okay, so that's what we are going to do today. We will identify research gap, literature gap, research gap to define our research problem. Research is only undertaken when we have a particular problem identified and defined. Research is not something very easy. Those of you are doing now, you know how difficult it is. It's time consuming, it's costly. You need a lot of efforts there. Okay, so we won't do research if there's no problem there. We only do research when there is a problem. And the problem needs solution. Problem warrants solutions. And those solutions can be arrived at after conducting a thorough research. Okay, so if you don't have a problem, there's no research. Okay, and there are some other definitions there. I will not go through that. These are the components of empirical research. Research starts with research problem or problem statement. Then we'll convert or transform the problem into few research questions and research objectives. And then we go on. Okay, but then the problem statement or research question cannot be constructed unless and until you finish doing literature review. So that's where the question come in. Sorry, Chan Wei Kang, you can't share the content. If you share, I will have problems. Sorry. Please don't do that. Participants, please don't try to share anything. You cannot share from here to Facebook. You can. On Jamila, can you see my slide? Am I on?
No.
We can see you, Prof, not the slide.
Oh, because somebody tried to share, that's why my sharing has stopped.
Oh, Yeah, whoever tries that again, we'll have to remove you. Sorry for that because it disturbs.
Okay, can you see my slides now?
Yes, yes, Prof.
Okay, thank you. Participants, kindly please don't try to share the screen, then I would be out. All right, let me continue. And when you disturb, it disturbs my flow of thinking. All right, so I was saying that to define research problem, definitely you have to review literature. It has to be systematic, critical literature review. Through that, we can actually identify and define research problem. And then the flow would be on, which I'm going to show you today, okay? This one, I do not want to spend much time, but there are many newcomers in my webinar. So quickly, let me 1-2 minutes just explain it. I compare research with a tree, and I compare research problem at the root of the tree. A tree starts with the roots, okay, and whatever fruits we get and the health of the tree and all those are dependent on the root. So your research is completely dependent on the research problem. How good you are in identifying and defining research problem will determine what kind of outcome you are going to get from the research. Same as like when you're planting a tree, it all depends on the quality of soil, the water quality, you know, the fertilizers and all that. Okay, so research problem is similar like the roots of a tree. If the roots are not strong, the tree will not be able to stand. A research will not stand if the research problem identified is not something that is affecting, impacting the society. Okay, so that's what you have to keep in mind. The rest I will not discuss. I do have a video in my YouTube channel on tree analogy. If you want to learn more about this, this is a concept I developed. You can watch that video in my YouTube channel. I do not want to make my participants bored. Those have been with me for last 1 year. I've been attending most of my webinars. So I want to keep new, fresh ideas and new slides. All right, this is the common complaint that we receive from examiners and supervisors when it comes to research gap and research problem. It's a very common issue. Supervisors will tell you, or examiners will tell you, your research problem is too broad, it's not really focused, you fail to highlight the issues properly. There's no real question or position, a sense of purpose of doing research. Clumps of information, meaning it just roughly sorted into categories and inappropriate sources of data supporting the research problem. No clear sense of voice and disorganized. These are the common terms being used by examiners during the proposal defense or final viva voce sessions. Okay, so it is a very common question from examiners. Tell me what are the issues. Tell me what are the issues. I can't find issues. Okay, issues are there but not highlighted enough, meaning that you do not have any backup data to support the issues that you have raised. Okay, and somehow disjointed, disorganized discussion. The flow is not there. In a research write-up, you always look at two things. One is good flow, the other one is logical sequence. So the flow has to be, going with a logical sequence, one after another, with a good flow, with connecting one idea to another idea. So you cannot be having disorganized, disjointed statements in a research problem. Remember, as I said, sorry, I cannot allow you to annotate. There are problems. Please don't try to do that. I'll just decline. All right. So please don't request me to allow you to annotate. Please don't. Please don't. I will share the slide with you. The organizers will share the slide with you. Your emails are with us. Those of you have registered earlier. Those of you have not registered today, you will fill up the feedback form. We'll share the slide with you. So you do not have to annotate. Please don't disturb the flow. So these are the common complaints. So let me go on and see how can I help you to solve these problems. These are the complaints, so that when you have a draft, nobody can complain. These are the issues. It is not broad. It's too broad. It's not focused. It's not highlighted enough, and all those questions should not be there. If you follow the recommended way I'm going to show you today. Okay. Again, in research, there is no definite formula that you must be following that one and you shouldn't follow other one. This is the approach I do take, and I'm going to share with you. Okay. Now, what is research gap? Let me start with that, right? So the first step of conducting research is identifying a previously unexplored area of research. That is the first research gap we always find. Unexplored area. The research has not been really done. Puan Jamila, can you hear me? They say I'm not audible. Is it true?
No, no, you are very clear. We can hear you very well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So when you are conducting a research, the easiest research problem or issue you can find is the area which has not been really explored. It may not be unexplored, but could be underexplored. A lot of research, few research is done, but not many research is done. That gives you the room to do research. Okay, so there's a gap. It's a gap. That unexplored area is a gap. Okay, in marketing we call it niche area, right? When you run a business, we can find out a niche area where nobody concentrate, and you can produce product and market in that in that segment of market. So niche area is like similar to research gap, an area of research which has not been explored much. Okay, this is one. This is a research gap. Choosing an untapped area in your research field will improve your chances of conducting excellent study and increase the chances of getting it published. So that's what I'm seeing, right? Unexplored or untapped area. So you are going to be one of the first few. Never say, I'm the first one conducting this research, because you have never read, all of paper. You'll never be able to read all papers published and research is conducting around the world. This is a common sentence we find among students, PhD student. The student will claim, I'm the first one. This researcher is the first one. This is the first attempt. That's not true. That's not true. Because while you are undertaking research, some other people might be also undertaking research from different parts of the world. So when you make a statement, make sure you are very careful. You should not be doing that. So the big question is, how to identify and define research problem of your study? Later, I'm going to show you, discuss the gap between research gap and research problem. I'm going to do that. Don't worry. So an untapped area or unexplored or under research area is a research gap. This is one. Keep in mind. All right. Some researchers have clear ideas about research problem or area they want to pursue from the beginning. If you have done your master by research and you are continuing in the similar area to do your PhD, pursue PhD, then definitely you have clear ideas what you would like to do. Some slides I'm going to share with you. Dr. Uluwaseyi, who has done PhD with me from Nigeria, and he did his master's in our university, then he proceeded to do his PhD with me. And he finished within 1 year and now 9 months. His PhD was completed 1 year and 9 months. He cannot submit before 2 years, so I asked him to keep it, wait for 3 months, we write on papers, then he submit after 2 years. Because his ideas were very clear. He did his master's by research in the area, the same area he continued doing the research, okay? So some researchers may have that. If you have that, then definitely you are very lucky. You are very lucky. You have some background. Possibly you have been working in an area and you want to pursue research, undertake research in the same area. You may have also clear idea of what kind of research you like to take. So the problem would be in your mind already. However, we say researchers, particularly those who are at the early stage of their career, you do not have any working experience and you did not do any research before. There are many, right? Sitting with me now. So you will find yourself in a fix when you have to zero down to a research topic, which is original and innovative. Okay, so when you go to the proposal defense or final Viva Voce, there's a normal question that you will always see, right? Whether your research is original. What is the novelty of research? Your research got to be original. You may replicate, and yet you have to have some originality and some kind of innovativeness, right? In research, you do also look at that. Creativity, innovativeness are being always looked at, okay? So the best way to do this is to identify gap from existing research in the field, all right? Finding a research gap. So existing research in the field, so you have to read papers, no choice. As I always say, the researcher's job is basically to read, read, and read. We have to continue present reading and reading and reading and trying to get control over the area of research that we'd like to embark on. Okay? Now, so as we read papers or books, topics of our interest, we may realize that there are some areas that have significant scope for more research, and they have not been tapped by other researchers. So when we are going to read papers, I will show you. I'm going to show you which part of the paper you should find some significant gap, some scope where you should be, you can be undertaking a research, pursuing a research. Okay. So as you read the paper, towards the end, you will see suggestion for future research, where the authors will say that I have tried to do this, and these are the things that I couldn't do. So if you look at carefully and read carefully, you can get some clue that these are the untapped area, unresearched area, under-researched area. That's where you can actually find the gap. So we are saying, in other words, no one has picked up to work on these ideas. A research gap or literature gap refers to unexplored or underexplored areas that have scope for further research. Okay, so you are finding out from literature where it is underexplored or unexplored, under-researched, or sort of a thing that we see that become the best way of looking at, right, through literature. So a literature gap or research gap, personally, I do not put it together. To me, research gap in different, there's a difference between research gap and literature gap. For me, research literature gap we identify through reviewing literature. A systematic review, a critical review will help you to identify the literature gap. But once you identify the literature gap, then we have to get evidence, the backup data from the industry. Then combining these two become a research gap to me. So for me, research gap is literature gap plus the data from industry, backup data from industry, that become the research gap. Okay, so a research gap is an unexplored topic revealed during a literature search and has a scope for further exploration. So the gap is also considered the missing piece or pieces in the research literature. Okay, in an area that has not been explored or underexplored. Okay, it could be population, sample size, sample location, research method. It could be data collection, kind of data collection method used. Could be different kind of analysis. Could be many other issues like exploring to different variables, trying of different testing and all that. Okay, so the gap could come from many places. Okay, the many places. Those of you who attended the webinar last week with me, I have shown you 3 different areas where actually broadly you get a research problem. Knowledge gap, then we put practical gap and methodological gap. Those 3 I have shown it in the last week, so I do not want to repeat those slides again. Those of you who did not join my last webinar, you can see that video will be up in my YouTube channel by next week. You can watch those slides if you like to. Okay. All right. Now, categories of research gap. Even in research gap, we may categorize it. Okay, we may categorize it. And I have put several different types here. A research gap could be identified as an empirical gap. It could be a knowledge gap. It could be evidence gap. It could be a theoretical gap. It could be population gap. It could be application or implementation gap. It could be even a methodological gap. There could be many more, but I have put, I think, about 7 gaps here for you to understand it better. Okay, so it comes from everywhere. You can see it's not something so difficult that we think as we struggle to finalize the research gap and defining research problem. It's not actually that difficult as it seems to be. As we develop the arts, the skills and equipment necessary to conduct research, we will find it easier, not that difficult anymore. Everything that you do in the world has an art of doing, you see. Those of us, even for me, when I started writing first time, my thesis, it took me a long time to write in the first sentence. It took me weeks to write 1 page. That's how we started, right? I think most of you do that. But as you go alone, writing 20, 30 pages already, it become easier. And the more you write, the more easy you feel. Similar like when you publish a paper. I remember when I published my first research paper, the list of corrections, I saw it like I said, I have to give up. I cannot publish this paper. 5-7 pages, 5-7 pages of correction given. Then I did a correction, and then they sent me second time and third time. But when I published first paper, I was so amazed, so satisfied, so happy, excited. So probably the second one, less trouble, third one, less trouble. As I published 20, 30 more, then writing paper become something enjoying, something exciting, okay? So that's how it is. So when you conduct first time research, of course, you'll be struggling, but if you learn certain ways and methods, it may not be that difficult for you, and that's what we are trying to do, okay? So there are several categories of research gap. Research gap may come from knowledge gap, it can come from evidence gap, having evidence from different places which has not been used. There are many data are there outside there, we call it big data. Those data are there, but people have not been exploring those data. So you can use new data which has not been explored. So evidence gap. Theoretical gap, you can validate a theory, you can verify a theory, you can nullify a theory, you can extend a theory, you can integrate few theories together. There are many things there. You can test effectiveness of a theory in a new location and all that. Policies are there, but implementations could be poor. And that is very common in Asian countries. We have very good policies, but when it comes to implementations, we are very poor in implementation. So research can be undertaken. Seeing the policies are there, but implementation are not good. So research is conducted. How can you, enforce more implementation stages to make sure that implementation is good? And that methodological gap in research, one of the most important elements is the robustness of data analysis and all that, and also the data quality and all that comes in, right? So methodological gap. There are many different ways of doing research. If you find that past researchers have used certain way of conducting it, you may feel that, no, these methods are not really right. So you may choose some different method to do it, okay? So to identify research gap, you need to do a thorough review of existing literature in both the broad and specific areas of topic. So that gives you something very important. So when you are reading paper, you are not going to specific areas only. You are going for broad area, and then you are, cascading down into the specific areas of research. Even you make start from international, then moving to regional, then coming to your own country, then coming to the industry. It may even cascade down like that. Okay, so it has to be a thorough review of existing literature. All right. Now, how does the research problem differs from a research gap? Research problem and research gap. Okay, let me clarify that. So you say your research problem should make a positive influence on the domain. So research problem because you want to find a solution, remember? So you will have a positive influence on the domain. Problem is there and you are providing a solution now. So the problem statement based on research gap should be emerged from through a thorough literature review, and the review should be making out of the gap that is already available in the literature. So the research problem and research gap are closely related. All right, closely related, and especially when you do PhD research, there must be a linkage with research problem and research gap. So you have research gap, and from there you define the problem. You take the gap and you define the problem. So research is about discovering the truth of something, right? That's what is said in ontology, right? The paradigm or PhD, the philosophy of research that you look at. We would like to discover truth, okay? And that truth is, identifying the truth is actually a research problem. May find out the truth or may nullify the truth, or may falsify the truth, right? All right. Can you please mute your microphone, brother, please? Ibrahim, can you please mute your microphone, Ibrahim? Sorry, I don't feel it nice saying same thing many times. So research is about identifying a truth, finding out the truth of the problem that is existing now, right? So while we do research, either we try to prove whether this is truth, the kind of phenomena that you observe, or whether it is false. Okay, that's what we do. That's ontology, right? And then we move to epistemology, whereby we identify the knowledge in that area, right? So it may also be something that nobody has answer or solution for yet. So you say that there is a solution, still you can do a research finding out the truth, whether the solution working, the solution is not working, okay? But there could be no solution yet at all. So there is a problem for which you have to find solution or answer, okay? Hence there is a research problem. So when there is a problem, answers are there, but answers are not sufficient. Not adequate. So that become a research problem. Or even the solution totally not there. And then you conduct a research to find a solution to it. That is also a research problem. So the research gap is what may motivate you to focus on that research problem to do your research. Okay. So research gap is the motivation. So you are looking at the area which is untapped, which is under-researched, which is not, which is unidentified. Okay. So you're focusing on that, you find like, oh yeah, this is something totally new, and I'm going to find something new. This problem is existing and affecting many people, the society, country, the world. And at the end of my research, I'm going to provide a solution. So you feel like you're motivated, you're inspired to do research. Okay, so there is a gap. And when you fill up that gap, it becomes a solution to your problem. Okay, solution to your problem. Now, what is a research gap and problem statement? So we say research gap is the research problem discovered after conducting a rigorous literature review. But problem statement is constructing or constructed sentence on how you describe a research problem. So now research problem and problem statement. So problem statement basically are the sentences that describe, constructed sentences that describe the research problem. Okay, which is usually we say is a subset of research problem. So problem statement is a subset of research problem. And that answers the question of many PhD students in chapter 1, what should I write? Research problem or problem statement or statement of the problem, okay? I personally prefer research problem because that is more comprehensive, okay? And under that you put the statements, those are the problem statement, because you may not have the single statement, you have many statements to define your research problem. So jointed, integrated few statements of problem become a research problem. So I prefer you to put research problem rather than a statement of the problem, okay? Now, research question and research problem. So research question is a statement made in a question form, seeking to study, learn, explore, examine more about the research topic, okay? So research question, there could be many, okay? More than one, definitely. Okay, basically we convert or transform research problem into research questions. There are few research questions. Okay, so research question will typically lead to hypothesis. So if you look at chapter 1 research questions and we move to chapter 3 methodology, we will see whether your research questions are actually translated into research objectives or not. That's very important, because research is one piece of work. In PhD, you just want a problem that you have identified, and then you focus on it. So there must be continuation, the flow, the idea of flowing from the beginning until the end. So last week also in my presentation, I've showed you action of the research, and then you have a conclusion there. Okay, so we have to have the, so research question will typically lead to hypothesis. Those of you cannot hear me, possibly is because of your internet problem. Possibly you can leave and come back. I think I'm audible to most of the participants, so they can hear me, as I see in the chat box. So those of you cannot hear me, I think it's because of your internet issue. Please leave and then join back. That possibly work. That may work for you.
Sorry,
All right.
Prof.
So
Sorry, Prof. Can I say something? Yeah, if they cannot hear well, maybe they can join on Facebook, because we have already like more than 700 participants, and yeah, it's too much already. So better if they leave, join the Facebook.
Okay. Those of you cannot hear me, I'm definitely audible. You can leave here. You can leave the Webex and you can join Facebook Live. You can join Facebook Live. Ponjamila, can you put the Facebook link in the chat box, please? Okay, we are putting the Facebook link to you in the chat box. You can join the Facebook Live. It is already there. The link is already there. Please join in the Facebook. Okay. All right. So there could be several research questions in a study. Okay. So your research problem in one, but then you will translate into few research questions. So there will be always few research questions. I'm going to show you example. Do not. Let me slowly go on. I have a flow. So let me follow the flow. Okay, so do not. Now, why it is so important to identify unique research gap? Now, imagine that you have completed your research work and wanted to publish, and then only you find out that another researcher have already published something similar. Okay. So how devastating that would be? Very devastating, right? You think, and most of you will claim, as PhD student, final viva voce, you will claim, this is the first attempt of this kind in my country. And imagine now, when you finish your research, you want to publish paper, you find somebody has already published. It's no more new. No more new. Huh? So that's how important it is. So if you fail to identify a unique research gap, you will have this kind of problem later. Okay. And also, from my experience, that what I have to advise you or suggest you, I'm sorry, I won't say advise you. I would recommend or suggest you, do not share your theoretical framework before final viva, the full framework. Do not publish it. Better, do not publish it, because while you publish after your proposal defense, somebody embark on research and finish before you, then you are dead. Okay, that's why some universities, they do not have the requirement, publication requirement, but some universities, they require you to publish certain papers. Okay. The universities who do not require you to have published paper is that argument, because if you publish after proposal defense and you write a content paper or concept paper and you publish it, and then somebody just take it on from there and he finish faster before you, and then you would be in trouble. You are no more, your research no more novel. Originality will be gone. Okay. So it is necessary to find out those problems in your research field that which have not been addressed before. That's better. Areas which have not been addressed. How can you find that? Through literature review. I'm going to show how to do it. So not only would you be investing your funds and resources in the right projects, but also increasing the chances of your publication. That's what we say. If you identify successfully the area which has not been addressed before, then it helps you to increase even your publication. Okay. Now, the challenge is to identify unique research gap. So I'm saying that finding gaps and coming out with original and innovative topics could be tricky. It could be very challenging. Okay. So now, these are some areas which could be challenging. For example, say dealing with enormous amount of information. With social media technological advancement, you just click, you get hundreds of papers. That time I remember I did my MBA at University of Science Malaysia. To do that small mini thesis, the sufferings that I had is I cannot imagine now. To get a paper, I used to go to the USM library, and then I spent a whole day. I did not get even one paper. I get one journal, flip through the pages, looking for related papers. I didn't get whole day, not even one paper. And we spent day after days, And then when I am exhausted at USM library, then I travel to Kuala Lumpur, University of Malaya, or UIA library to see some other journals to get the papers. But those days are gone. Now we are overloaded with information. You just click, just one click, you get hundreds of papers available. So now you get so many papers now. So which one to take it? Which one to take? That's a challenging task for us. Okay, very challenging task. Having too much of information and how to screen and scan and find the relevant, the right materials for us. Number two, difficulty of searching in an organized manner. Those of you who are not experienced, you may have difficulty finding out or organizing the right confirmation of information that is required. Okay, so you get some ideas and you lost it unless you properly noted it down. Okay, so even difficulty organizing the way you should be searching the paper. I do have some recommendations I'm going to show you afterwards. Hesitation in questioning established norms. This is very common, especially for new researchers. You don't feel you dare to question, you dare to question the findings of someone. Okay, as we do more and more research, we tend to challenge, the findings. That's what you're supposed to do as a PhD student. But at the beginning, of course, for beginning, it's not that easy, to question the established norms or established findings that we have in the research area. So that hesitation would be there for some time. But as you read more and more papers and you get a whole of the area of research, you should be able to have that capability or ability to question the established norms of research, okay, the findings. So this is something we say identifying a unique research gap. How can you do that? So we say, okay, let us map your story. Let us map your story. We start with that. You know mind mapping. I'm very sure all of you are familiar with that. So let us start asking question. First question, what is my topic? It is a very simple question. What is my topic? My topic is about online shopping. Okay. But online shopping, there are many things there. So, okay, I want to look at effectiveness of online shopping. You can. But there are many areas to look at. You are looking at the trust, the pricing, the after-sales services, and many other things that you can look at. You can use the TEM model and many other model available, TPV and many other models available. You can use. So what is your topic? We start with that. Then after that, the next question would be, who are the key people in that field? Who are the key people? Meaning, who are the key authors who have done research and published papers? Okay, that's the next question. So now you're identifying the key papers. Remember, I said you need to have about 40 key papers for PhD research. Okay, finding out key papers is not difficult. It's not difficult because once you find one paper, that paper will be citing many key papers. And if you go on reading more papers and more papers, you will always find similar paper being cited by everyone. Those are the key papers you'll always find. Okay. So first question, what is your topic? Next one, who are the key people? What are the key studies in that area? Then you follow on asking yourself again, what are the key ideas in the field? What methodologies have been used? So now, where do we get these ideas? By reading papers. By reading papers. As you read more and more papers, you get hold of more papers, you read more papers. So you see what are the key ideas there and what are the methodologies being used. Okay? What are some of the strengths and weaknesses of existing research? That's very important. Huh? So now you are looking at what the strengths and weaknesses. That gives you the room to find out the research gap. So you're looking at the strengths of particular research and looking at weaknesses of particular research. And from there, you're finding out the gap. And that gap becomes your research problem, right? That's what you look at. And finally, if it is PhD research, then next question is very important. What will be your contribution? What will your contribution be? And how will it be different? So that's what we ask a student in the final viva we say, or even proposal defense. What is new? What is new? So what is new in terms of knowledge, or what is new in terms of methodology, or what is new in terms of practical industrial aspects? So something new must be there. So while you are reading papers and identifying strengths and weaknesses, then if you embark on certain areas to identify research gap, then you have to ask yourself, by identifying that research gap and defining that research problem, what are you going to contribute and how different your contribution is going to be? Okay, so that's how we look at it. You see now, those of you have already been vaccinated for COVID-19. You know, we have now Pfizer, we have AstraZeneca, we have Moderna, we have Sinovac. Those are the very popular ones, Sinopharm. Those are the very popular ones. And we cannot say which one is more effective, which one is less effective. Maybe you can, but I do not want to make any conclusion as I read. Definitely there are different people have done research and they have solution on that. Different vaccination, okay, but same COVID-19, same coronavirus, but you have 5 or 6 or 10 different vaccines, okay, so, and all of them are different. They are not exactly the same. That's what you see. So many people are doing research, coming out with solutions, and solutions are different and yet impactful. significant. They are providing some kind of solution. That's what we expect you to do that. Huh? So even those vaccine we have, still there are rooms for researchers to come out with new vaccine. Now they are giving 2 doses. Possibly you will get soon one dose is enough. Okay, and similar kind of many other new things you can find. Now, these are the 5 questions that I give you. If you have answers to those 5 questions, you already have the research gap with you. Very exciting research gap and exciting research problem. If you do not have answers to these 5, then you're not there yet. Okay, you're not there yet. You are not there yet. So this is a mind mapping. This is a mind map. Map it nicely. Put that question in a map. Ask yourself these questions. And if you have the answers of these questions, you are ready to go. Just proceed. You start flying already. But any of these not answered, I will ask you to hold on and read more papers. Okay. All right. These are the few other recommendations we have to identify unique research gap. Basically, we say you got to read a lot. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about it. Make a list of any other questions that you have about your topic. I have given you 5 questions, but there could be more than those 5 questions. Okay, so now below are the some. Now I'm going to talk about some strategies that you can use to make the most of your time. Okay, the first one, when you read paper, read the suggestion for future research very carefully. Okay. Almost every one of us, what we do at the end of research, we write limitations of the study and then suggestion for future research. Not all research will have weaknesses, limitations, and we will have to declare that. We have to acknowledge that. We have to express that in our research papers in the thesis. And from there, we move on and we say, these are my limitations. And future researchers should be doing this to cover up these limitations. Okay. So read carefully, the suggestion for future research. We say many times the authors will identify areas where they think there is a research gap exists. Okay, so by looking at reviewing the suggestion for further research, you will already find the research gap there. Okay, they will already tell research gap is already there. Okay. The other one is, as you are researching, you will most likely come across citation of seminal works. These are the research studies that you see in literature. That is basically the key papers. Remember, I said to identify about 40 key papers and review them carefully. So those papers will be mentioned by everyone. So it's easy to find. Find those key papers. Kindly mute your microphone, please. So first one, we said you read the suggestion for future research. That's where you will definitely find a clue of research gap. Second one, you look at the key papers. See which paper is being cited the more. Mention again and again. Get hold of this paper and review it carefully. Okay. And then the third one could be reading the meta-analysis. There are some content concept papers. Those papers are very good. You will see many research papers, not research papers, articles published based on literature alone, just literature review, literature revisit. We did publish, many of my PhD students, I will always encourage them to do it. Okay, so we do publish concept paper. That's basically only literature. So there's no data collection, there's no analysis, and there's no discussion on it. It's basically just based on literature. So if you look at those papers, then you will be able to look at the trends and changes over time. Okay, and you should be able to summarize the previous research findings. That gives you basically room to identify the research gap, and then you continue to define your research problem. All right, these are some other guidance here. Let me go through quickly this. All right, so these are some steps. Number one, you select a topic or question that motivates you. That's very important. As a researcher, you should be identifying a question or topic that motivates you. It's very important to be motivated, to be inspired. You have to feel excited, inspired to take on a research, because his PhD is going to take 3 to 5 years, long journey. If it is not interesting topic, you are going to suffer more and more. Okay, so there's a lot of physical, intellectual, and emotional effects. So make sure the topic is interesting to you, something motivational to you. Then find out the keywords. Okay, say for example, if I say the simple example that I give, say for example, you are talking about job satisfaction. What are the keywords you can think of? What satisfy you? Salary, right? What more? Training and development, recruitment selection, leadership style. So there could be many, right? So once you identify research problem, then find the keywords. Find the keywords. Okay, so those can be actually identified through your understanding of the research area and all that. Then use the identified keywords to search literature. So when you are searching the topic in literature, then use those keywords to look for relevant literature for you. Then number 4, right? Look for topics or issues that are missing or not addressed within your main topic. So now again, you are going back again, those are not being addressed yet. So again, feature studies and all that. And you have to do a systematic literature review. So there are ways of doing it, which I'm going to discuss a bit, not a lot, a bit I will show you. Now, how to identify research gap again, all right? So there are a few steps here. I think there are 5 tips I've taken from someone has written from Pakistan. I find it very good. This I've taken from her, okay? So you may wonder what would be the best way to come up with innovative research question, okay? There are many different ways of doing it, but it depended on your curiosity, creativity, imagination, and judgment. Okay, so as a researcher, you got to be curious. You got to be inquisitive, as I always say, inquisitive. Your curiosity, your creativity, your level of imagination, your level of judgment on certain phenomena that you observe help you easily to identify your research problem. But this all curiosity, creativity, imagination, judgment is again developed in you through reading and reading and reading. All right. So as you see anything, you will start questioning. So that gives you the room to develop this kind of abilities and capabilities. So these are the 5 tips I have. Few tips, 5 I think. Yeah. Look for inspiration from published literature. Seek help from your supervisor. Use digital tools to find papers. Make note of your queries and research is question that you identify. So this is one. So when you read books and articles, say this will not only help you understand the depth of work done by researchers, but also it provides opportunity to ask questions that lead you to a research gap. So while you read the papers, you try to get inspiration. See, when we were doing A-level or O-level, many of our parents used to give example of students who have done well before, right? To get inspiration. So we read paper to get inspiration from them. All right. So that's what a professor of economics from Columbia University, Don Davis, he said, read what is being written in your field, recognize the contribution that have come in the prior literature, and do not be worried by it. Question everything. Question everything. That's important here, right? So you read the papers, acknowledge the contribution. They may have done excellent research. You acknowledge it, but question them. Question them. Nothing is perfect. Okay, research. When it comes to research, everything is questionable. So question them. That's important. That makes you curious, inquisitive. That makes you creative, innovative, and all that. Okay. So these are the few questions you may ask to get inspired. What is the significance of this research work? Okay. How can this article help me formulate my research question? Does the author argument require more clarification? What issues question have the author not addressed? Is there any different perspective that I can consider? What other factors could have influenced the results? Okay. And other methods produced use outdated or no longer considered, valid. So I can come out with a new one. So these are the few questions that you can ask yourself to get inspiration. Inspiration. You're finding out gap already, So these are 7 questions here that I put it here. If you have answers of these 7 questions, definitely you will have research gap identified already. Earlier, I've given you 5 questions. Now there are 7 questions here, which also help you to identify research questions. And these are some more elaboration on these. Of course, they are advising you to look at suggestion for future research, as I said earlier, and also for, advising you to do meta-analysis or reviews, right? Now, the second one, seek help from your research supervisor. This is very important. If you are doing academic research, then you got to be closely working with your supervisor, very closely. Sometimes, unfortunately, some supervisors may not be that active. Sometimes students are not active. It could be either way. Since I have been doing webinars and I'm connected with the students from over 40 countries, I do receive calls, I do answer. I do get a lot of emails, a lot of WhatsApp messages asking this question, that question. There are many complaints about supervisors. Many. Supervisors are not helpful. Supervisors do not really have, supervisors are not really updated. Supervisors don't read papers. Supervisors do not give any comments. Supervisors do not read my draft. Those complaints are very common. Okay. And even there was one student called me and said, Prof, when I was arguing on a topic with my supervisor, I thought I was right. But my supervisor asked me, are you supervisor or me supervisor? So I see, how can a supervisor can go up to that level, asking a student, are you my supervisor? So by right, students should be encouraged to ask questions. I love to see a student questioning me, debating with me. That's what I want. You know, I want students to read papers, and then after reading 5 papers, come and see me, sit down with me and tell me, what did you find? And if I say something wrong, tell me, Prof, you did not read this paper. You do not really understand it. I read this paper. I understand better than you. So that's what I want. Yeah? That's what I want. That's what research is supposed to do. That's what research is supposed to do. Okay? As a researcher, you are capable of thinking, understanding, and arguing. And supervisors should salute you if they find you are arguing with the supervisors. Okay? So get help from supervisors. Okay, but again, you got to be polite. You got to be friendly with the supervisor. Understand the way supervisor works. Understand the supervisor's mentality and all that. People, human being, we have many weaknesses, and we have to understand that. We have to carry on. Huh? All right, so that's something very important. Working with the supervisors. Okay. All right. Let me move on. This is I'm very poor in it. Let me acknowledge it. Using digital tools to find out the papers. Okay. Familiarize yourself with the critical bodies in the field. So you can actually use a website like Essential Science Indicators. This one, I put the link here. I share the slide. You can click here, you will get the link. Or you can even use Google Trends. You can just click and you can get it, and you can find out. Okay. So these digital tools can be used to identify event papers, and there are ways of doing it, which I'm not very good in it, but I know some of you are very good in it. Okay, so I leave it there. Make note of your every queries, or make note of your queries. It's a good practice to note all the questions that cross your mind while reading any published literature, and that's why I always suggest that students, especially research students, should carry a book. I call it what do you call ideas notebook? Sorry, ideas notebook. Ideas notebook. I call it the ideas notebook. You have to have a diary. It's a beautiful diary, right? Many times we write every night before we go to bed. We write something of the day that thing happened. Right? Many of us, we have that behavior. That kind of diary, I call it ideas notebook. You need to have a notebook. It can be even written in your desktop or even handphone. Doesn't matter. But whatever ideas come in your mind, just write it down. Ideas notebook. Very important for researchers. Sometime while you are walking on the road, sometime while you are playing badminton, many times, because I love playing badminton, many times I get good research idea while I'm playing badminton, because I enjoy that game, and ideas suddenly come there. Okay, so ideas may come from anywhere, you see. So as you are driving and you are listening to a song or even recitation from holy books, from Muslim Quran or any other thing, While you do that, it's still in your mind. But research is something, once you register for PhD, it's always there in your head. Even if you do not have any progress at all, it affects you. It's inside your mind. Inside your mind. It's not out there. Doesn't matter what you do and how hard you try to get rid of it. The idea would be there. What happens if you just discontinue and drop out from the PhD program? Until you die, it's going to be in your head already. It's not going to be out. Either you complete it or don't complete it. PhD is going to be in your head. It's going to be there. So there's a many people say PhD is permanent head damage. Some people say permanent health damage. Some people say permanent hair damage. But I personally say permanent happiness degree. PhD, permanent happiness degree. You do things right and you complete within time. At the end, you'll be the happiest person on earth. Okay, last Friday, I was attending a final Viva session at Taylor's University. After a student has finished his Viva, even we can see, we know that you come out with the joy of crying, right? If you fail, you cry with sorrows and all that. So keep note, keep track of what the author's telling you and all that. But I do have also a template to show you how to do research summary of a paper, so all that, okay? All right, so this will basically help you to ensure there's no unintended plagiarism of different papers, okay? And this is what we say, research is question, meaning one, you have a research problem and then you transform it to few research questions. Make sure you identify papers for every research question. Say, for example, your main theme is job satisfaction. And your dimensions the independent variables are leadership quality and whatnot. Leadership, the employee-employee relationship, leadership style, working environment, all those are right. So identify paper for each and every research question, every construct that you have. Okay? And you continue, keep reading until you have found something extraordinary, until you find something that no one has actually tapped it. Okay, no one has actually tapped it. Okay, so keep reading and asking question until you find the extraordinary problem that you have been looking for. Huh? These are some examples. Let me move on to the there is one. Huh? So these are some examples. Dearth of research in emerging economy. Even though developed country, a lot of research being there, but in an emerging country, research has not been taking place. That is a research gap. Contemporary issues give conflicting or inconclusive results. So research has been done a lot, but findings are conflicting and inconclusive. That gives you a research gap. Limited studies on the specific area. That is a research gap. Unexplored or under-researched. That is a research gap. Prior research suffers significant methodological contribution. So that is also a research gap. Sorry, I think my presentation slide, I have to share it again. Don't worry, I'm going to share it. Don't worry. Because we have 700 participants, so that's why, it's quite heavy. It's all right. I'm visible now, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Professor.
Yes,
All right.
doctor.
Yes.
Yes, Prof. Yes.
Okay. So we're saying that inapplicability or irrelevance of findings in developing economies. I mean, because the originality of research, novelty of research, most of the research are taken, are done in the developed countries, unfortunately. So most of us, we replicate the studies done in the developed countries. So when developed countries findings are there, may not be applicable in our country, may not be relevant to our countries. So that is also a research gap. Okay, inconsistency in findings of prior studies. So you see, findings are there. Some say significant, some say not significant, some say positive, some say negative. So that is inconsistent. So that is also a research gap. Okay. Now, example of how research question is arrived. Okay, so you see here, literature issues. Say, for example, literature issues here that contemporary issues have conflicting inclusive ideas. More extended studies focus on profitability, not other financial performance. Then role of innovation, for example, this study, particular study that I am citing, is ignored in the existing literature. Practical issues. I said the link between business and financial risks are only subject of few studies only. How studies suffer significant methodological limitation, inapplicability or irrelevance, right? Those I said. So you have literature issues, you have practical issues. That makes it up a research gap. That's what I said, right? I say that literature gap, you identify from literature, then you back it up with practical issues, it become a research gap. That's my definition of research gap. I differentiate literature gap from research gap, okay? Literature gap, you identify from literature, and when you connect it with the industrial issues, practical issues, it becomes a research gap. To me, I could be wrong. Now, this is an example of how my student have done it, okay? Sorry, excuse me, someone is talking. Is it Miss Mas or someone?
Yeah, I just muted, Prof. Sorry about it.
Okay. All right. Let me show you a practical example to get you familiarized with how a research problem, a research gap been identified. Okay. So you can see this student has written the overview of the study. This student has done a research on firm value. Okay. And then he's connecting with the financial and business risks. It's a finance topic. And then he's connecting with the knowledge gap and then practical gap. Okay. So the significance of the study is highlighted at the overview of the study itself, at the introduction. You are saying about your topic, introducing your topic, and you are telling why it is so important to do research on this without identifying the research gap, without identifying the research gap. Now here, you can see, very quickly I show you. Oh, sorry. These are the literature we done on firm value. There's a dependent variable. And he has citations. If it is small, you may not see, but I will share the slide with you. So he has all the citations here talking about firm value. You see, you say let's focus on long-term performance measurement. It's a gap. Measurement are not only scanned but also mixed. So that is also a gap. Looking at enterprise value, like robust and comprehensive scope. So he's looking at enterprise value. So there's also a gap. Volatility in the firm value indicators. There's also a gap. You see. So he's identifying the gaps from there. And then he's continuing. So research gap is being identified there. And this is how another one, you can see, all those literature are there. The supporting, earlier was dependent, now independent. And all the citations are there. And then from those citations, on the right side, I put the research gaps for you. Okay. So if you do that, this kind of job, if you can do, and you go to the final viva, I'm sure you will have easier time. You can defend your work very well. Okay, you should not have difficulty defending your work. Okay, so you're identifying from literature the gap, and then you are developing. Okay, you identify gap and you are defining the research problem. And here he is introducing moderating variable. Here also he has identified the research gap, and then he put it there. What are the research gap there? Okay, so then he's connecting it with practical data. Earlier we look at the research data, and now we are connecting with the practical, the industrial data, the statistical data to back it up. That's what I said earlier, right? That makes your research problem stronger. Literature gap become research gap, and with the support of practical statistical data, make it stronger. Okay, this another way. You can see here, you got another data to support it. Okay, and then he got some more data to support it. Okay, so when you have literature gap and it is supported by, backed up by industrial data, that makes it, very easier for you to defend, to arrive at a conclusion of a research gap and research problem. And from there, once you identify issues there, then we put it in this slide, right? I have shown it last week also, this one. This is the template where you can plot the research problem. So your dependent variable is the main problem, and the issues that earlier we identified through the gap, now we put it in this template. Okay, and from this template, this is your theoretical knowledge gap, and then we have industrial or practical gap. From here, we bring it to the theoretical framework. You see the connection now? So you have research gap, a literature gap. You can see here. So we are having all those literature gap. These are all literature gap we have identified, and then we have practical industrial data to support it. And then from there, we plot that in a template like that, which I'm going to share with you. And from there, we develop the theoretical framework. Okay, so these all are supported by literature. This all coming through identifying research gap and defining research problem. All right, and then from there, once you have a theoretical framework, very easy to write research questions and research objectives. Okay, so based on the variables identified, it's very easy for us to construct the research questions and write the research objectives. All right, and from there, we will have our hypothesis. So research questions are being transformed into research hypothesis. I did not put the sub-hypothesis here, but there are a few sub-hypotheses. They are based on the model, but I put it the main hypothesis here. So we can see the connection here. You do literature review, you identify the research gap, you define research problem, then you transform research problem into research question, then you develop a theoretical framework. From the theoretical framework, we construct the research hypothesis. Okay. So that's what the ideas I had on how to identify research gap and define your research problem. I think should be able to provide you good understanding and comprehension and to develop a construct, identify and define your research problem. Okay. Now, how to do literature review? Let me quickly go through that. So literature review, those of you are very new. Now the few slides I'm going to talk about quickly. These are for the basically beginners, mostly beginners. Literature, basically the material that you consult. We read papers, we read books, so we are consulting papers and books and all that. So literature review, basically you are reviewing papers and related to the areas that we look at. Because you would like to gain understanding on the existing reviews and debates in the area of research that we have taken. Why we do literature review? Because we search for ideas and we try to identify what the research in place. We try to generate ideas. We develop some critical perspective. Okay. We do literature review because we would like to get ideas and identify research gap and so on. This is a process of identifying, get hold of materials. Finding out the right materials and doing literature reviews. So this is Saunders has proposed. Based on research questions, we develop define the parameters. From parameters, we generate the keywords, then we conduct the search, we obtain literature, we evaluate, record them, and we start drafting already. As long as you read the first paper, you continue drafting, and it continues. The process continues and continues, similar process. Okay, so you can define the parameters again. Once you have parameters and obtain papers, you can define the parameter, look for more papers, and it goes on. It goes on. These are the basically steps in literature review. We say search for literature, evaluate the sources, identify the theme, outline the structure, write to literature review. Okay. I don't think this one I want to talk about. A critical literature review. Basically the purpose of doing it is to refine your research question objectives. You discover recommendation for further research. I talked about it a lot. Okay, you avoid repeating works already undertaken, and you try to provide, it provides basically insight of strategies technique being used. Okay, so these are the key to a critical review. Basically, when we read, when you write the literature review, it demonstrates what you have read, understood, and evaluated. It should demonstrate the write-up. Link different ideas to form cohesive and coherent argument. And make clear connections of your research objectives and subsequent materials. As I said, research is just one piece of work. It starts from the beginning and it continues, right, and the end. So it's one piece of work. It should be jointed, integrated, and in a coherent manner. Okay. So for you, for us to the two very important skills that we need to have is when we read a paper, we have to have the capacity. We have to have the capacity to evaluate with what you read, and we have to have the capacity to relate what you read. Okay? They are two very important. Those of you cannot hear me, you have to leave and you have to come back, or you can go to Facebook Live. I'm very sure I'm audible. Okay. All right. So these two capacity you have to develop in you, and it comes from more reading and reading. Read more and more paper, you will develop this capacity to evaluate what you read and the capacity to relate what you read. Okay. And this one, I always recommend that a paper should be written for 4 times. First reading, we just review, we read paper just for the sake of reading. Second reading, we underline, annotating, underline, highlight. Third reading, we summarize. And fourth reading, if you read more than one paper, then you compare, contrast. Okay? This is a systematic literature review process. I do have a video in my YouTube channel, a 2 hours long video. Please watch that. Conducting systematic literature review. Okay, so you can watch that. It's a long one, so I'm not going to discuss about this. I do have a video in my YouTube channel, a 2 hours long video. Please watch that. Someone, your microphone is on. Can you please mute it? Okay, this is something that I'd like to share. You can actually summarize a paper in one page. So, somebody's microphone is on. Can you please mute it? Ms. Ponjamila, maybe you have to take it.
When I mute the person, he again unmutes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So this is a template that I have developed to make your job easier. You can summarize a paper into one page. Okay. So I put in between the title of the paper and the bottom, I put the reference for you. So when you read a paper, identify what the research problem, what are the previous research findings, what are theories, hypotheses there. Look at how data being collected, then how did they analyze, what is the finding of this research and suggestion for future research. I give you an example of how I've done it. You see, there is a paper, this paper has been summarized. It is a 16 pages long paper summarized into one page. I don't need more than that. It's enough. Okay, so those things that we need from a paper. And this is another one, a summary of a paper. You can see 25 pages long paper summarized into one page. You don't need more than that. Okay. And then once I read 10 papers can be summarized into one page. This is the template. This page actually summary of 10 papers. So if you have that, not difficult for you to identify the research gap and then define your research problem. Okay. Oh, and this one I have shown you. I'm not going to go through that. Okay. So I think I've taken quite a long time, already 1.5 hours. So I'd like to end my presentation here and leave the session with the moderators, okay? And I will welcome questions from you, okay? And debates questions are most welcome. It's up to the moderator now. I am done. Huh?
Yeah, thank you.
Possibly we get a few questions first from the chat box. Then after that we'll allow the verbal questions, okay?
Yeah, I could find 2 questions here, so I will ask them first, and then we will move on to them asking them directly.
Okay.
Yeah, the first question is it's from Muhammad Salman. Which research gap is impressive? Empirical research gap or theoretical research gap for PhD thesis?
I would say empirical, because under empirical you can still cover theoretical, methodological as well as practical. So empirical would be most preferred for PhD research, because under that umbrella, the methodology and the theory and practice all can be covered.
Thank you, Prof. And the next question is from Nurul Hijra, and she is asking how to know the industrial issues or industrial gap.
Yes, that's basically you have to collect the data from the related industry. Data are available. Say, for example, if you want to get annual reports, it's available in the annual reports, right? The performance data and all that. If you'd like to collect some other information, there are syndicated organizations. For example, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, Ministry of International Trade and Industry, and there are many ministries, different ministries in the country. Those have documented data. Central Bank and many other organizations available to give you that data. So the data will work as a backup to support your research literature gap, okay, to define the research gap for your research.
Thank you, Prof. And maybe we can open 2 questions from the audience directly first.
Okay, now it's open for you, verbal question. Anybody would like to ask?
Yeah, one by one, please.
Can I ask?
Yes, brother.
Can
Dr.
I ask?
Imran. Yes, for sure.
Yes. My question
Sorry,
is that
we allow Dr. Imran first. We allow Dr. Imran first. Okay, Dr. Imran, please. Dr. Imran,
Okay, Imran, you can ask your question now.
you can unmute, please, Dr. Imran.
yes, yes. Can I ask about the research questions and research objectives? Maybe the same or different?
Of course, it is different. Of course, it is different, but the content is the same. Research question, we put it in an interrogative question mark, and research objective, we put in a positive statement. Content are the same, doctor. Contents are the same.
Yes, can you same?
Content are the same.
Mostly, actually, the same thing is there.
Yeah, there are two approaches. When it comes to research question, we have a specific research question that we translate the research problem to research questions. But research object, we can put the main research object, and then we can have some research objectives possible. Or you may have this equivalent, research object. 4 research question, 4 research object possible. It's up to you which way you like it. I see some professors, they like to have the main question first, and then they have some supplementary questions, supplementary objectives. But I personally prefer straightforward. If I have 5 research questions, I would have 5 research objectives to make my life easier. Okay, Zuraid, is it Zuraid? Is it?
Thank you.
Welcome, doctor. Zuraida, is it Zuraidi? Is it? You have any questions, sister? Okay. Get next question, please. You can just reach on microphone and speak.
Hello, Doctor.
Yes.
I have one question. What's the difference exactly between the research gap and problem statement?
Okay, I thought I have explained that during my presentation. I thought I have explained that problem statement basically you are just putting in statements of problem, right? Problem in a statement. Research problem is a broad umbrella of research problem that you would like to undertake in your research, and then research problem is translated into many statements. Say for example, your research problem is job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is affected by leadership style, working environment, salary, and all those. Those are the issues. Those could be in a research statement, and when it comes together, it becomes a research problem, that is job satisfaction. Did I answer that, brother Abdul Salama?
It's a small circuit.
Okay, Prof. Dr. Virender, I think wanted to say something. Prof, you're most welcome.
Good evening, sir.
Yes,
Dr.
Prof.
Rahman. My question is, I am from India.
I thought Prof is not going to ask me a question. Rather, you are going to add on something to my presentation. Yes, Prof. Please continue, Prof. Prof. Dr. Virender, please continue. I think maybe internet issue. Maybe we ask someone else. One more question, please.
Prof?
Yes, please continue.
Yeah. I'm Charles from Tanzania. You say that we meant the search of research gap from industry. Now, suppose I'm an international student, maybe doing my PhD in somewhere in another country. Mean that we can supplement the information from the industry through literature review, because that we read the document maybe from the industry that we are conducting research.
Mr. Charles, everything is now online. Everything is available online. So I don't think location is a problem. It doesn't matter where you stay. Data is available and obtainable. It's obtainable. Prof. Dr. Virender, if you are available now, you can speak now, Prof.
Sir, I am available. Can you listen me?
Yes, now we can hear, Prof.
Ear problem. Sorry, sir.
Yes, please continue.
Hello.
We can hear you. Please continue.
Sir,
Amen.
my question is, in the present scenario of the pandemic in 2019, the empirical research and the quantitative of research are the most, our research scholars are effectively in this issue due to pandemic 19. So you may suggest to our research scholars for which type will be research are completed.
Yes, Prof, thank you very much for raising this issue. I see PhD students especially struggling to collect the data due to pandemic situation that we have. I do have a PhD student in my university, my school, was trying to collect data by Google form through emails. And first time when he emailed 800 participants, not even one responded. Not even one. Out of 800, not even one responded. You can see how he feels sending email, 800 emails, and no one has responded. So collecting data become a serious problem because all of us, we are going through, those of us affected by COVID-19 is definitely they are mentally, physically down. Those are not affected, we are mentally also sick now. Okay, in this situation, I would personally feel that if we do research by qualitative study, possibly focus group online, or online interview and all that, maybe at this moment help us to finish up the research rather than collecting data through development questionnaires. Also, I saw last week a questionnaire being circulated in my faculty. Say within 1 month, I managed to get only about 30 or 40 questionnaires so far, and is struggling to get back questionnaires. Prof, if you have any other suggestion, you're most welcome. Yeah, Sister Nurul Fazila, yes. We can't hear you, Sister Nurul Fazila.
Prof.
Yes.
Prof, my name is Hafiz. I'm from Malaysia, from Malacca.
Yes.
I have a question to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. When doing the literature study, for example, if I'm doing research using quantitative method, is there any problem if I make reference to other literature that is doing qualitative, or I just have to focus on quantitative type of literatures?
Okay, very good question. I think many participants have problem on this. As long as it is a published paper in a peer-reviewed journal, doesn't matter whether quantitative or qualitative, it can be cited.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Doctor. Prof.
Welcome.
Doctor, can I ask?
Sure, Prof. Sure, brother. Yeah, Brother Ibrahim.
Doctor, if I found the problem or the gap, how I make sure that it is not solved or answered by someone else? So I go on and
that's what I have discussed during my discussion. If you look at, I have given you 5 questions first, and after that I have given you 7 questions. So there are 12 questions there. I said if you have answers of those 12 questions, then you are done. You got a totally new research topic. So it should not have done by someone else. Okay, please look back.
Okay,
when I share the slide with you, look back those 12 questions. Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Assalamu
alaikum.
Good evening, Prof.
Yeah, good evening.
My name is William Abdullahi.
Yeah.
A master's student, Department of Economics, Gombe State University, Nigeria.
Yes, brother.
I was very happy to be part of this presentation, but I was having network challenge. The full but I want to make a plea that your material, the slides you presented, how can I have it so that
as long as you fill up the feedback form, if you fill in the feedback form, you will be emailed. The material will be emailed to you. Don't worry. Did you fill in that feedback form? Did you fill in?
I have not done that. I haven't finished.
I think in the chat box, the link is there. Please click and fill in the feedback form.
Yeah, if you fill in the feedback form, you will receive 3 things. One is the video recording, other one is a certificate of participation, and the third one is the PowerPoint presentation slides. So please fill in the feedback form.
Okay.
The
Thank
video,
you.
I don't have video. One Jamila cannot share the video. Video would be my YouTube channel.
Professor, can I ask a question?
Okay, we get this question.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yeah, Brother Tarmiji. Yes.
Professor, thank you so much for your very good presentation as well. My name is Tarmizi. I'm from Malaysia. My question is, before I attend your webinar tonight, so I did some research on the, I did review some about the problem statement and also research problems there. But I found there is one term they call a problematization and a problematization gap. That makes me quite interesting to know about that term. I try to understand on that term. So do you have an idea on that, Professor? Thank you so much.
I'm not sure, brother. This is, I think, first time I heard of this term, so I may have to study more about it. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. But anyway, thank you so much for your presentation. It's very useful for me as well. Thank you, Professor.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, participants. And we will allow you to ask more questions after a while. Now, there is a question from Facebook. It is from Faiza Omar. Prof, how do we create theme in LR? Is it based on our variables?
Basically, research theme comes from the research problem itself. The research problem becomes the theme of the research. That becomes the dependent variable. Okay, and with that theme, we continue to develop the construct. Those constructs become independent variables. So those become sub-themes. So we start with the main theme as research problem, and then the sub-theme are the issues become construct or variable. Those become sub-theme, and that's how we start with thematic. Okay, identifying theme and then sub-theme. And then while we write literature review, we follow the thematic way. Then we combine it with theoretical or chronological most of the time, thematic plus chronological. And in case the theory is an important issue, then we combine with the theory. That's how we develop the literature review part. Prof, I hope I have answered. Sorry, the sister Fazia, is it?
Thank you, Prof. And the next question is from Mangai Solomon Mahanan. Thank you, Professor, for your insightful sharing. Please let us know how could one present a problem statement if no one has explored the research area?
Okay. All right. Imagine a situation. The kind of problem that we have. The COVID-19, the vaccination that researchers came out with, no one has done it before, right? They started afresh and it took time, a lot of hard work. So when we talk about research gap, it doesn't mean it's completely something new. When you have coronavirus, this is coronavirus number 3. We have many viruses around us. So they had some clue how to come out with the vaccine. Same goes to the research gap. Say, for example, you are doing a research in human resource management practices and it impact on organizational performance. So human resource practices, you look at, recruitment selection, you look at performance appraisal, you look at training and development, and many other practices that you look at. Under that, you will find something totally new that no one has explored. So that is not difficult to get. That's what we mean by unexplored area. We are not asking you to create a new area in human resource management. It's not. You are just creating new dimension. Say, for example, when you look at the mobile phone now, every time we buy a new phone, you show to people, I got a new phone, but that enjoyment lasts only 1 month. After 1 month, you got another, same brand, you got another one, and with new features. Simple one feature, but that makes it new. That's what you want. You work on the existing literature, existing research, existing theory. Just add on one more feature. That's something new. That's what you want. We do not want you to have completely something new. That's difficult. We don't have literature, we don't have theory. How can you come out with something new and do a research on it? It's impossible. Okay, there must be some guidance there.
Okay, and the next question is from Jedwin Labiano. How many literature reviews do I need to support and justify my research? How many is enough?
For PhD research, we expect minimum 200. For master research, we expect minimum 100 citations. But practically speaking, for PhD research, you are not going to read all 200 papers. Possibly, you will be reading only 40. When you read 40 papers, all 40 papers will have more than 200 paper inside. When you read one paper, inside there, you get 40 paper, 40, 50 papers cited. So when you are reading one, actually, you are reading 20 papers. Do you follow me? So you are reading, actually, for me, if you have read 40 key papers for PhD is enough. And if you are doing masters, about 20 to 30 research paper, you will have gain control over the area. You will understand exactly what has been done and what has not been done. That's what you want. That's become research gap, and you define research problem. That's your research.
Okay, and the next question is from Chanaka Uchanda Ranasingha Arachi. Can a research gap always be backed by practically, or is it only limited to quantitative research methods?
No, research, when it comes to research problem, definitely research, qualitative, quantitative, both are the broad category of research. And original research are always qualitative research. And where the qualitative stops, that's where the quantitative starts. So you cannot say only qualitative or only quantitative. It depends on the kind of research problem that you have identified. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Maybe we can open it for 2 questions from the audience directly.
Yeah, Winston Chin, I think you wanted to say something, is it? Winston, please. You can speak now. Yeah, please continue. Please continue.
If
Winston,
I'm facing my problem.
Okay, internet problem is there. Okay, next one. Other one. Yeah, please
Hello.
continue. Yeah.
Bula, I'm from the Fiji Islands.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a guest.
Sure.
And my question is for research question and hypothesis.
Sorry, sister, can you tell me one more time, because there was a disturbance.
The research questions and the hypothesis.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we have to use it all the time, or is it in some research that you just use? Yeah.
I got your question. If it is a quantitative research, then you must have research question, and then you transform into research hypothesis, and we got tested with the data and analysis. But if it is a qualitative study, then you have research questions, but you don't have hypothesis. When you complete your research, you will come out with some kind of hypothesis or some assumptions. So depending on what kind of research you are doing. If it's a qualitative study, hypothesis is not essential. If it's a quantitative study, hypothesis is a must.
All right. I have another question. For the slides, for guests, do we receive these slides? Because I cannot proceed to the next stage of the feedback form.
Can you please fill in the Google form that in the chat?
Yeah, I'm filling it, but I cannot proceed to the next section.
Oh, sorry, you have not filled a part then. Which one you couldn't fill?
The metrics.
Okay, just put 0 there. It's enough.
0.
Yeah, because yes, it will work.
Thank you very much.
Sorry,
Please, the forms, the Google forms, we can't move to the next page.
Okay, why can't you do it? Is there any part missing or you couldn't fill?
Yes, the second part, that is the page 2, 3. I can't move to that side to fill.
Yeah, to move to the second part, you had to complete the first part. Is
Yes,
there
I've
anything
done
that you
it.
didn't fill?
I've filled everything.
No, if you have written everything, you can definitely move. Just check again, please.
Okay. Okay, the sister, please ask the question. Yes.
Hello, good evening, sir. Hello.
Yeah, good evening.
I'm from India, sir. First of all, thank you so much for such an interesting lecture. So actually, my question is that if by reviewing the literature review, if I got a research question which has not been explored by anyone before, so what exactly methodology can be used for it? How can I be sure about it if no work has been on it before? So
All right. Basically, earlier I was recommending when you read a paper, please take a focus on suggestion for future research. That's where you will have the citation. Or people will say that they have not explored into this, and future researchers should be exploring into it. So that is your citation. So you cannot be so sure because you are not reading all papers and all the publication in the whole world. You know, you may not have obtained all the papers, but at least you have a citation. Somebody said that this issue has not been tackled. You know, so that way you can confirm that you are the first one exploring into it. Is that clear, Sister Sivani?
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you once.
Okay, I think
Good
Faizan.
evening, Doctor.
Hello, doctor. Good
Good
evening.
evening, Prof.
Good evening, doctor.
I have a question. Is I'm facing my article IV find to mediator to DV. I couldn't find.
Okay, I got your question. You got
history. What's
okay, you got internet issue, but don't worry, I got your question. When you have a mediating variable, basically if you follow Wilson, then you will have a direct hypothesis for independent to dependent, and then you will have a hypothesis from independent to mediating, then mediating to dependent. Okay. Now,
yes, doctor.
There must be clear evidence of impact from independent to dependent. That evidence should be there to introduce a moderating. Okay. And then if you have evidence that independent variable has effect on mediating, but mediating doesn't have effect on dependent, it's okay. As long as you are mediating evidence from independent to mediating, it should be enough for you to introduce the mediating variable there. So that would be your contribution. The mediating to dependent, nobody has tested before. You are the first one and you are testing it. Are you
So
following?
not compulsory. I need to find the article that support my IV to
Yes.
mediator to DV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, Prof. Terima kasih.
Sama-sama.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Assalamualaikum.
Prof, you have mentioned that there are 7 literature gaps. So for PhD research, ideally, how many gaps we need to actually state in our thesis?
Okay. Ideally, knowledge gap must be there for PhD.
Right.
Knowledge gap must be there. You call it as a theoretical gap, you call it as knowledge gap, you call it empirical gap, doesn't matter. But academic research, PhD as an academic degree, the knowledge gap must be there, which you want to fill in. And after that, additionally, if you have little bit of methodological gap or practical gap, would be good. That will boost up your research. But knowledge gap is the most important one.
Thank you, Prof. Secondly,
yes.
Nowadays for online data collection, what is the ideal response rate actually?
Response rate depending on different countries. Like Malaysia, a professional research, the response rate is only 17%. Before COVID, not during the COVID.
Yeah.
Before COVID, the response rate for a professional research is only about 17 to 19%. But what PhD students used to do is they employ research assistant, or they go personally and hand in the question and collect the questionnaire. So the response rate would be a bit higher. But still, I don't really buy. If somebody say my response rate is 70%, I'll never buy that. I have seen in PhD Viva versus session, a student says my response is 80%. I will tell straightforward, I don't trust this. Okay.
Right. Especially those students like us starting now PhD, is the only method is online. So we need to know this before. Yes. Thank you.
So if previously you were distributing, say 1,000, so now you have to distribute 2,000.
Right.
Assalamualaikum, sir.
Thank you.
Hello.
Okay, we have 2%. Okay, Brother Ali Fazil, you ask first, then we'll ask Brother Rashid Khan. Yeah, Brother Ali Fazil, yes.
Yes, Doctor. Doctor, about I am student. My program is Master of Philosophy. You mentioned I can read between 30 or 35 articles or journals.
Key articles, key papers. Remember, don't please misquote me. I say key papers. 25, 30 key papers. The paper being cited by everyone. You know, those are the key papers.
Yes.
20, 25 papers should be enough for you to get hold of the area. Should be enough.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you so much.
But you have to have 100 citation in the whole thesis minimum.
Yes, 100. As I did.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Hello,
Good
Assalamu
evening,
alaikum,
Prof.
sir.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Aslam, can you allow Kartika, Delsi? Then after that, we allow you to ask question. Kartika, please
Okay.
continue.
Okay, thank you. My name is Kartika Delsia from Indonesia. I want to ask you how to select the right books or articles for the literature review, because I've read some article for literature review, but my lecturers say that the article cannot support my research. Thank you, Prof.
Okay. Well, if your paper, the one you are setting, as long as it comes from a peer-reviewed journal, should be fine. So you have to prove that journal is a peer-reviewed journal. I think you understand what does it mean by peer-reviewed journal. When you submit a paper, it's being reviewed by at least 2%. Okay, and then review report is sent to you, then you do the correction, you submit back, and that process goes on. There are many predatory journals available now. They charge you, submit paper today, tomorrow they give you acceptance, and next week they publish. We know those blacklisted journal, predatory journals. In Malaysia, the Ministry of Education itself will help us, giving us the list of those blacklisted journals. So we'll be aware of it, and we will tell students do not cite them. So that would be a way of looking at Sister Kartika. So when you get a paper from a journal, go to the journal website and check what kind of journal it is. That's important. Possibly your supervisor knows that that journal is a predatory journal. That's why he said that it's not acceptable.
Sir, I have a question.
Okay, Prof. Thank you.
Brother Rashid, yes. Brother Rashid, yes.
Okay, sir, I'm from Bangladesh.
Yes.
I'm from Bangladesh. Sir, my question is there any limitation of research question of PhD paper, PhD thesis?
I came across a PhD research when I chaired it or sometime become external examiner. I see 7, 8, 10 research questions there, which I will ask them to make it like 4 or 5, and we'll advise them how to do it. Personally, I do not want to see more than like 5 research questions. I don't think, because you have a research problem, very well-defined research problem, and you are basically translating it to few dimension, few questions. So it shouldn't be more than 5. 4, 5 research questions is just nice. If you break it down, say for example, you have 5 independent variables and 1 moderating variable. So 5 independent variable, you have 5 research questions. And then when come to 1 moderating, so each independent to dependent and moderating, you have 5 moderating questions. Then you'll have 10. But there are ways always definitely there. You can reduce it to 4 or 5. It's possible. No problem at all to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, can I have a question regarding the statistic, the difficulties to collect online data? Is there anybody have supporting document or written that? Because that's from the real life experience, right? That I have difficulty. Is there anybody report for that?
I think Miss Anna, Mrs.
Yeah.
Basically, you don't have to have any written support for this. Everybody understands now. Everybody understands. There are certain things.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay.
Everybody, we have agreed. We know this is happening. So you don't have to have citation.
Yeah, because sometimes when we write something, right, then we will be asked, is there any citation for
Somebody
this?
asks you that question is going to be a stupid question, because everybody understands it's a pandemic time.
Yeah.
It's understood and agreed by everyone.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, okay, agree. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Islam, yes, Wissam.
Excuse me, Doctor. I am a PhD student from Iraq. I need to ask, can I use a previously existing research gap, but with the new parameters to increase knowledge in my PhD subject?
Yeah, that's what you are doing. When we say research gap, basically you are introducing new parameters because there is a gap there. To fill up the gap, you come out with the new parameters. Okay, so
okay, thank you.
This is your research gap. You are introducing a new parameters to fill up that gap, meaning that you have identified that there is a missing parameter in that research. So that parameter is the research gap, and you introduce it and prove it and you fill up that gap.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Welcome.
Hello?
Yeah. Dispersinath. Can you allow dispersi? Yeah, dispersory. Is it dispersory? Yeah.
Depository.
Okay. Depository. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Yes. Sorry. Can you allow depository first? Okay. Yes, depository, please.
I'm PhD scholar from India, sir.
Okay.
May I ask a question? At the when we are writing any thesis at and methodology, is it necessary to write methodology and object in every chapter differently, or much is enough? But in every chapter,
I think in a extent, I understood depository your question. Basically, the standard way of writing thesis is usually we write first chapter introduction. That's where we'll have overview, research problem, research question, research objective, research scope, significance. That's what we'll have in chapter 1. Chapter 2, we put literature review, and chapter 3 will be methodology. Methodology chapter will not have research question, research objectives. Methodology will have research philosophy, research design, research approach, data collection method, the theoretical framework hypothesis, and your analysis method. Those in chapter 3. So you don't have to have objectives and a research question in every chapter. Definitely not. Did I answer your question, Devasri? Did I answer your question? All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your answer.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Yes, Karim, Mr. Brother Karim.
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Assalamu
Doctor, I want to ask regarding systematic literature review. The area that I am studying in, so there is no too much papers. The last systematic literature review was in 2017. 2017 up to now, I didn't find any related papers, so I can't take. I make research about this area. I mean, it's all papers.
If you have, if you can identify some theories that helps you to develop theoretical framework, you may still proceed to do research. But when you have lack of literature, we will suggest you to do qualitative research, not quantitative. If you want to proceed to quantitative, we may proceed provided you have established theory to develop your theoretical framework.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Prof. And a few more questions from WebEx and Facebook Live. One from WebEx. Okay, this is from Tika Ram. Prof. Sir, should the number of research questions and research objectives be the same?
I think I have answered this question earlier. Personally, I prefer to have same 4 research question, 4 research objectives. I prefer that. But there are also different school of thought. You may have 4 research question or 5 research question. When it comes to research objective, they may put main objective of the research, and then they may have the supplementary research objectives. Okay, so there are 2 different school of thought. I support the one having similar number of questions and objectives. Easier for a student to explain.
Okay, and one question from the Facebook, Marcelina. Thank you very much, Professor, for a wonderful presentation. I'm Marcelina, a PhD student at Rwanda University. I try to find literature about the research problem, and very, very few have talked about it. How can I write the literature review now?
In that case, when you have very few, then I would suggest you go for qualitative research. Qualitative research, research under researched area and lack of literature, availability of literature, right? So you can go to qualitative research. In that case, you'll focus more on what we call data-driven theory. What is that? The other theory? A grounded theory approach. I'm sorry, grounded theory approach. So please do little study on grounded theory approach, understand it, and you undertake a qualitative study. All right, Sister Jamila, yes.
Yeah, and there is a question from Muhammad Nizam bin Muhammad Arshad. Salam, Prof. You did mention on reading 40 articles. The articles shall be recent. If yes, how recent? 5 years, 10 years? How recent it should be?
Yeah. First of all, if you have 200 citation for PhD, your 40% research paper, meaning 80 papers should be latest 5 years. 80 papers from the latest 5 years. 40% papers should be latest 5 years papers. But when you talk about key papers, we can still look at 40%. Say, for example, 40 out of 40, 16 would be latest 5 years. I think that should be still fine. Because some key papers are very old. Because you will follow chronological research findings. A research theory being proposed in 1970. And then you have to follow on research in 18, 19, and 2000, and so on. So the latest papers is still 40% should be enough.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is from Arbani Salman. In identifying a research gap, can we still use the same method with an improvement?
Okay, Puan Jamila, first of all, I think they are sending message. Some participants, they said they want the feedback form in the Facebook. They are watching in the Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
So they want
sorry,
to.
what actually happened is, I don't know, like we cannot share it anymore, like it stopped. So I have asked them, I have given the Telegram link to give their name so that I can send the forms later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can you send a message there that you have, please do that.
Yeah, I have. Okay, yes, we'll do that.
Please send a
And
message telling them to join in Telegram, and so give you the email address. Then you can email the form and they fill in. Okay, what was the question? I forgot. Sorry. Okay, you did a literature review. You find the literature gap, and can you still continue? Sorry, I didn't get.
Oh, no, okay, Prof. The question is, in identifying a research gap, can we still use the same method with some improvements?
Definitely, you can use the same method and some improvements. That's what we want. We want something new. You can use similar methods with a bit of improvement there, definitely. Okay, the brother raise your hand. Okay, you can ask the question first. Okay. Yeah, brother, the one you raise hand, yes.
Kasim, yeah.
Can you ask the question now? Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Can I go ahead?
Sure, brother Kashim, yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, I love the way you are going about the presentation. Thank you so very much. Prof, I'm asking, you just talked about grounded theory in the application of qualitative research. I really want to know what that grounded theory is all about before I go searching.
Okay. When we do not find any established theory, a proven theory in the area of our research, then what we do, we look for some papers which is written based on data analysis, pure data. They just collect data for the first time and they do analysis, they play with the data and they come out with some kind of findings which is not supported by a theory. That is called grounded theory approach.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it, Prof. Thank you so very much.
Okay.
Okay, and the next question. Okay, and this is from Mrs. Agnes. Thanks a lot, Professor. I would like to ask your kind advice. Can you give to students facing the problem of being imposed the topics by their PhD supervisors or advisors? Any advice for coping with that?
Well, I think especially for science and engineering or even medical, when you undertake research, you try to find supervisors who has a grant, research grant. You want a research grant. So if you're looking forward for a grant, then you've got no choice. You have to follow the supervisor, whatever topic given, you have to follow because the supervisor is given a grant based on a topic. For example, like when I had FSGS research grant from Malaysian Education Ministry, I have the title already there. I cannot go away from there. Then I cannot give you the money. If you want the money to be paid from that research grant, you have to follow my research project. So if you're imposed by your supervisor on the topic because you are getting the grant, I have no suggestions for you. All right. In case you are not given any grant, then why should you be following the supervisors? You should be following your title and look for a suitable supervisor. Apply, find out to a university or faculty where professors are available in your area. then apply there. There's so many universities around, so many universities. So you don't have to look for only one university. If you go for a university where you do not find a suitable supervisor, just change to another university. Even the same way at university, if you find a supervisor and you find not suitable, you change the supervisor, find somebody who is more suitable for you, for your topic. Personally, I like to have my own chosen topic. I don't want any topic to be imposed upon me. I don't like that.
Thank you, Prof. And the next one is from Rija Ibrahim. What do you actually mean by theoretical gap, Prof? Theoretical gap is when you have a theory, but that theory is not validated yet, needs validation. That theory has been tested effective in Western countries and developed countries, but not being tested in developing or underdeveloped countries. So you're validating it with statistical data and all that. Even a theory can be expanded. The theory is there, but you can expand it. Even if you look at, say, for example, Parasuraman's the service quality sub-qual model. First, he came out with 10 dimensions, then he make it at 5 dimensions. And there are so many people undertook research, and now they have different dimensions there. If you look at theory of reason action, TRA, being proposed at Fishburne and one, right? Then we proceed to TPB. Now we have UTAUT, you have TEM, and so you have so many different. So that's what we mean by theoretical gap. A theory is there, but not adequate, not enough, not effective. Validation is not there. Even it's not applicable, so you nullify the theory. So there are many different ways of looking at it. You may look at the video available in my YouTube channel, Developing Theoretical Framework. It's available there. There are a lot of discussions there on it. You can see that. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prof. And the next one is from Kohli. Is it possible to identify a gap from meta-analysis?
Yes, I have shown it earlier, right? One of my point was there. You can do a meta-analysis to find out the literature gap. Definitely.
Yeah, probably this question was put before that, I think. Yeah.
I tried to cover quite comprehensive. Most of my webinars, I try a very comprehensive area. Okay, I can finish it up in 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Many webinar organizer will tell me, Prof, please finish it within 40 minutes. I say, then I won't conduct the webinar. I would like to cover the area so that participants can really understand and get a good control over the area. That's what I want. And while I'm speaking to you, it's not that easy. It's already 2 hours and 15 minutes. I've been continuously speaking, not that easy. And I had my second dose of Pfizer just day before yesterday. I'm taking Panadol every 7 hours. Taking my left hand, very painful still. And I'm talking 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. So it's basically, those of you who are joining me, I don't want your time to be wasted. I want everyone to be benefited. So I do not do a shortcut job and leave it just like that. Yes.
Professor, I have one question. One
Yes,
small
Dr.
question. Can I put that?
Sure, Doctor.
Dilip. One question that is I am from science stream. So in case of science, when we write the result and discussion part in thesis or in paper, a research paper, a result part that is in past tense, always we use past tense, and discussion part that is in present tense. So that is applicable for social science or not, that same method?
Yes, Doctor. Basically, in social science, you do advocate both. It can be either past form or it can be even present form. Both are acceptable.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, Doctor.
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Wish you are keeping well. For my question, I'm asking about the research problem, the statement. The people usually, the students usually use the info or extract them from journals, books, and etc. I mean, for the students, the researchers, are they authorized to compose their own schedule, diagram, some info, comparing to support their statement or not?
That's what I advocate. I always advocates that once you do literature review, it doesn't matter whether meta-analysis or systematic literature review, whatever. You do review and then you find a literature gap. Then you connect it with some industrial data in a table or diagram or whatever. In my presentation, I have showed it In the practical example, I've shown you some diagrams, some tables of data, and then connected it with the literature gap. And that's what I call it a research gap. Sister Donia, did I answer your question?
Yes, I mean, I want to compose that info. I want to compose that
yes, you have to. You have
history
to.
diagram, something. Okay.
Yes.
It's okay. Yeah, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, and
Assalamu
just to remind our Arabic speakers, if you want to put your questions in Arabic, please do so. We have like Assistant Professor Dr. Rula. She will translate it for us. Thank you.
Miss Anna, I think Mrs. Anna has a question. Yes.
I have a question. Yeah, so I don't know whether I call it as to bridge the gap or not. Let's say if I have really this online research problem that I'm trying to switch my methodology. So let's say I'm my participants actually they are adult learners. So they are my students. Can I use them in the few classes that assigned to me to conduct my research, like a case study?
If you are doing a research on education,
Yeah, education, yes.
Definitely. Then you have to have longitudinal study. So you collect data at the beginning, they collect data at the beginning of the semester, collect data at the mid of the semester, collect data at the end of the semester. It has to be longitudinal study. But if you are teaching, you are doing research in marketing and collecting data from your student, that is not acceptable.
Oh, but for education is okay. But sometimes the students, we meet them only about 3 to 4 months. Then
doesn't matter. You, at the beginning of the session semester, you collect data. After 2 months, you collect data. At the end, you collect the data. It has to be because learning of students. It differs at the beginning and middle at the end. At the beginning, students will be on honeymoon. They may not be studying anything at all. They just come to the class and go back. Learning doesn't take place. At the middle of the semester, just come midterm exam, assignment. Oh yeah, we have to study. Then you study. And towards the end of the semester, they have to do good project. They have to do presentation. Final exam is coming. They become more serious. So learning as stages at different time at different in the semesters. So that's why your educational learning, all those study has to be longitudinal. That's what I say, longitudinal, the beginning to middle to the end and all that. Even if you are collecting data from one specific class, then you have to collect data at the beginning of the class, mid of the class, end of the class. There's also the kind of longitudinal study.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, so it can be done. All right, thank you.
I'm having a question.
Sure, brother. Continue.
Can you hear me? Nawabuddin from India. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer and the professor for conducting such a wonderful session. Professor, I'm having one question. Like for the literature review, if you're going through different papers, like there are different, that research might be going on all across the world, right? So we have to search through the platform like Google Scholar or so. Is it sufficient that we can search only one platform like Google Scholar, or we have to search different platforms?
I think you have to search for different platforms because Google Scholar doesn't subscribe to all kind of journals. Okay, there are good journals which actually the papers are not available for downloading, and you have to pay and you have to get the papers. For those papers, you may not get it from Google Scholar. So in those cases, you may have to use different databases. Most of the universities, the library do subscribe good databases. So you have to follow that, brother. Now.
But sir, sometimes it happens we don't have those kind of subscription. That's the issue.
That's the problem. That's the problem. If you don't have then you will be suffering. Possibly then you have to communicate with friends who are studying in different universities, which universities subscribe to those databases.
That is the only way out.
That's the only way out. Yes.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Sure, please.
Hello, Doctor.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. It is a wonderful, and thank Jamila also for their moderating. Awesome. All the thing is very beautiful. My question is, I'm now with my student looking for the impact of COVID-19 on the performance of on one sector in the area here. but we have we didn't have enough literature or paper covering this subject. They are also, we find some kind of paper covering COVID, but as independent variable, but there is no match between two independent and dependent variable.
Okay.
For that, how can we conduct these things? And how shall we distribute two questionnaire before and after?
No. Okay, I understood you. There is no before and after because you cannot collect data before COVID already, right?
Yeah, how can we?
Now is during COVID, and we do not know when is going to be after COVID. We do not know.
Yeah, yes, during.
So it's like normal to new normal, and the followed one I call it next normal. Okay, so now we are on new normal, and then followed by we will be having next normal. And how the next normal going to be, nobody knows. Economies are collapsing. People mental, physical health is deteriorating. So we do not know really exactly what kind of next world we will see once the COVID is over. And I get everyday news of people in my country now expiring. Close friends and all, almost many of them, hundreds of them are infected by COVID. If you look at India, my friends, I have many friends told me many of their very close one died. In my country also, that's also happening now in Malaysia. Yesterday, I got news of two of our professors died in UIA. He was a dean of postgraduate studies from my country, but working with UIA for long. So that's what is happening. So once COVID is over and you start moving, you will see many familiar faces are no more there.
Yes.
Many familiar companies are no more there. So
how can we conduct
so in
this
of your research, my suggestion is basically, if you follow my slides that I have showed you, I did discuss a bit. I said literature review has to be started a broad way. Then you narrow it to a specific factor. So as long as you find paper on COVID, you can cite them, and then narrow it down to a specific area. You might have only 2, 3, 4, 5 papers. It's all right. If you don't have paper testing the relationship between independent and your dependent, that's going to be your contribution. As long as you have identified independent variable to connect it with your research problem, the dependent variable is fine. So once you come out with acceptance or rejectance of hypothesis, that's going to be your contribution.
Okay, then the questionnaire is enough to distribute our participants.
For COVID, I personally, for COVID tests, I personally prefer to have both. You do questionnaire and quantitative study, but please also do little qualitative, say 3 or 5 interviews should be enough. Because a questionnaire may not be enough to extract all the information needed. Because COVID is such thing, we do not know even exactly the effect of COVID yet. So when you design questionnaire, you may not be able to provide all the available the options available there. So in that case, I would suggest you can have also little inclusion of qualitative findings there.
Focus group or
for either focus group or in-depth interview. I personally prefer focus group because when you go for in-depth interview, people may not be willing to speak much. Difficult to get into details, so you can go first group. Somebody start speaking, other people speak, and then you have debates and all that. You will get many new data there.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Assalamu
alaikum.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Do you hear me?
Yes, okay.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
First of all, thank you very much for your informative session. Yes, sir. Because of the bad connection, I missed a lot of parts of this session, and I don't know whether my question will be relevant to this session or not. I want to ask about the synthesis matrix in doing literature review, sir. And I don't know whether you have a separate lecture on your channel that I can follow later on.
In my in my YouTube channel, I do have videos available on systematic literature review. There are few videos available there for you. If you want to follow, you can follow that one. But the one you are talking about, I don't think I have any video on it in my YouTube channel. And Dr. Imran, please continue. Yes.
Say that again, sir. I didn't hear you.
Please continue. Yes, please.
Yes, yes.
Assalamualaikum.
I think the internet issue was Brother Maklin bin Ali. Yes, you can ask the question.
Okay, Dr. Maclan Ali here. I'd like to ask you, what is the minimum variables that we need to have for our PhD study? Is it 3 or more?
There is no minimum, there is no maximum. It depends on which underpinning theory you are selecting. But for a PhD study, if you have less than 3, it will look very odd. No, at least 3 should be there. Don't quote me saying that at least 3 should be there. I said it depends on the kind of research problem you have and the underpinning theory that you have selected. But even yourself, if you look at a PhD thesis, only 2 variable, independent variable, even you will not feel very good. Because the coverage has to be little comprehensive coverage than master or degree research, right? So I would expect at least 3 independent variable there.
So what is your opinion if we do have 1 independent variables, 3 mediating or moderating variables, and 1 dependent variables? In a way, like there are 5 altogether.
I don't think you will be able to sustain with that kind of variable, that kind of framework. You will be cushion left and right. Because when you say only 1 independent and 1 dependent variable, so the underpinning theory covers only 1 variable. Are you saying that?
No, what I mean is because the independent variables is, I'm trying to use the RBV, the resource-based view.
And then there are many variables there. You cannot have only 1.
Yeah, I do have.
Theory is not variable. Under the resource-based view theory, you have intellectual capital, you have financial capital. Under intellectual capital, many dimensions. Under financial capital, you have many dimensions. So you cannot have only 1 variable if you are using RBV. I'm very familiar with the theory.
Okay. For what I mean is the RBV for my independent variables, there are basically 3 sub-dimensions. And the mediating variables, I have 1. But of course, the items, there are quite a number of items inside there. And of course, my dependent variables is more on the firm performance, basically.
Understood. So in that case, you have a few independent variable, 1 mediating, 1 dependent. That is fine, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Prof.
Assalamualaikum. Yes.
Prof, I have a question. First, thanks for this informative session. My question is, what is ontology and what is epistemology? It's quite confusing for me.
No problem. Ontology is basically focuses on finding out the truth, whether the problem really exists or not. Okay, that is ontology. Following me? So when you see there is a phenomena, there is a problem. Now you want to see whether that problem really exists or not. That is ontology. And epistemology is finding out the knowledge related to that phenomena, that problem. Okay, so epistemology focuses on the knowledge. So now if you look at the different paradigm we have positivism, we look at single truth. Post-positivism, we look at more than 1 truth. That could be alternative truths available. If you look at interpretivism or constructivism, interpretivism is we explain the truth. That is epistemology. Or constructivism, we construct the truth. We construct the variables and all that framework and all that. So there are different way of looking at it. Okay, so ontology basically just tells you whether you can arrive at a conclusion to say whether that problem exists or not, but you are not providing any solutions. But epistemology, you follow a systematic way of deriving at a knowledge by providing solution to the problem in hand. Is that clear, Sister Sumaya?
Yeah, thank you, Prof.
Welcome.
Good evening, Prof.
Yes.
Prof, I wanted to ask about if just say now I'm measuring a job stress
So which instrument should I use, the original author or the revised version? For example, I'm measuring stress among the teachers. So the revised Malaysian version of teacher stress, which is the better instrument?
Okay. Either one is okay. But if you use adapted one, revised one, there are procedures for it to follow. Okay. So if you are adopting exactly what the original questionnaire is, if you use that, then you don't have to do pilot testing or pre-testing, not really required. But possibly you can just do a pilot testing, meaning you just distribute 30 and collect it back and see. Pre-testing, and but if you are adapting, changing, or modifying the items, then you have to follow the stages. First stage, you have to send it to some academic and industry expert and get their views. And accommodating their views, then you have to conduct a pilot study, whereby you have to check the dimension using factor analysis, testing the reliability using reliability tests. And then only after that, you go for pre-testing. So you distribute some questionnaire. Based on the factor analysis, you drop some items, right? You may add some more items, then you continue to do the pre-testing. You collect 50, 60 key in and see the data train, and if you see is okay, then you continue. So that process has to be there. If you're making edited questionnaire, then you have to follow the 3 steps. By adopting, then you don't have to. You can just do the pre-testing and continue distributing the questionnaire.
Okay, Prof, another thing is choosing a theory. I think theory has either is an individual-based theory or organization theory. How to know which one falls in which category?
And that's why I say you have to watch the video available in my YouTube channel. Developing Theoretical Framework is available, but let me answer very shortly. All theories are developed based on assumptions. So what you have to do is when you look at theory, go to the original paper when the theory was introduced and look at the assumptions. If the assumptions are individual level assumption, then it is an individual level theory. If the assumptions are organization level assumption, it is an organization level theory. Is that clear?
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Thanks a lot.
Welcome. I think we take the last question. It's already 11:30 here.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Assalamualaikum.
Prof, thank you so much for your talk. I have two, actually, I wanted to know your point of view. One is regarding the sample size, because based on the previous study that I've read, even pilot or randomized control trial, for example, the sample size is very large. I mean, like for this current pandemic, I think it's quite difficult to conduct with a large sample size. And then the second thing is, I wanted to ask you your point regarding, is it okay if I conduct a pilot study for my PhD study, or how is it? Because actually I'm currently conducting a randomized control trial, but I still have 70% more to collect the overall for my sample size. I have collected quite a lot of time, almost like 1 year, and then I was thinking to change my methodology, not change my methodology lah, more towards like change my main objectives. So I will I think I will I will represent again my research proposal, because I wanted to change my objective. What is your point regarding this?
Sister Noor Sajwani, you have to be very clear on this, determining the sample size. If you follow Christian Morgan or Umar Sakaran, the sample size is quite a lot. Don't follow that. During the pandemic, even now, we suggest you to use G power. G power. You just go to google.com, type G power, how to use G power. Or you go to YouTube channel. I don't have in my YouTube channel. I want to put it up, but I don't have time to do it yet. But there are videos available how to calculate, determine sample size using G power. So use G power, the sample size will be very small. Okay, not very big, so not very large. But remember, if you are using G power, then you have to use PLS, more suitable. Do not use SPSS or AMOS. More suitable will be PLS. Use G power. Or there is a formula. The formula is basically number of variables multiplied 10 plus number of items in the questionnaire. That is the sample size. Number of variables multiplied 10 plus number of items in the questionnaire. That will also give you a smaller sample size. So possibly you can do that rather than redefending your proposal again. I don't think you should do that, sister.
Because actually I had calculated using the G power, but still the the sample size is quite big. I mean, like I still need to. I mean, like I do not know when I will complete the study.
Possibly you have number of variables are quite a lot, right?
Yes. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's why, you know, from the beginning, we always tell the students when you decide to define your research problem, make sure you are very careful, looking at the future events. Whether I will get access to data, I'll be able to collect the data and all that. So in your case, possibly a reduction of variables will help you to reduce the size of sample.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Welcome. You have worked so hard. I do not really prefer you to redefine your proposal again. Possibly you can do some amendments with the advice of supervisors, and you can talk to the examiners, inform the examiners through the supervisor that you have made some modification rather than
Dr. Kenneth,
sitting and again.
I have made an amendment actually, but still because of the pandemic, I still cannot proceed with the data collection. It's very hard.
I understand, because it's not only your problem, everyone's problem. But somehow we have to sail through.
Thank you so much, Prof.
You know, Sajwani, my PhD research, that time the data was not available online, and I did PhD in finance. So I had to photocopy 900 annual reports. 900 annual reports, you know, and I have to read through 900 annual reports, and then I have to extract data and key in. It took me 1 year plus just to extract the information. And there was one good friend of mine who photocopied 900 annual reports and brought it from Bangladesh to Malaysia, you know. So we had gone through, even that time the COVID was not there. So because of social media, all that, your life is much easier than us. So now with COVID, your life has become as difficult as us. So take it, and do it, inshallah. Okay?
All right, Prof. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
It's me, Prof.
Yeah.
My name is Chan Wing Kwai. I'm doing my last paper on dissertation. I'm doing a doctorate. So I'm a bit confused by the four terms used. You know, factors, constructs, dimensions, variables. So sometimes I use factors, then my lecturer
Okay,
will say,
I got your question. Factors are same as variable. Factors are same as variable, no different.
Okay,
Constructs
factors.
also same as variable, no difference.
Okay.
Is that
Constructs?
correct? Construct is the same as variable.
Dimensions?
Dimensions also, okay, dimension could be a bit different. Dimension could be, you may have few dimension under one variable. Okay. So if one variable you have direct hypothesis, you may have sub hypothesis based on dimension possible.
Okay. All right.
You may have a variable whereby you have few dimension possible, but factors, construct, variable, they are the same.
Okay, factors, constructs are the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Construct,
you very much.
remember I said, if you have attended my last talk, I have showed you how the building blocks of a theory, it starts with ideas, then concept, then construct, then assumptions, then theory. That's how it goes, okay? So when ideas come in, it is not useful. You don't call it, something useful, right? So when we make an idea useful, relevant, it becomes a concept. We can visualize it. And when you can measure a concept, it becomes construct. So variables can be measured. So construct and variable could be the same. All right. And then we assume relationship between construct, those become a hypothesis.
All right.
Okay. Sister Nabila, I think she has been trying to ask questions. Sister Nabila is.
Thank you.
Yes. Assalamualaikum, Doctor. If my topic is factors affecting consumer attitude towards online shopping, where all the factors are independent variables, and these independent variables are the hypothesis, construct the hypothesis. So how the number of objectives can be equal to the number of hypotheses? Is it possible in this case? In these topics?
No. Your number of research question and hypothesis, I never said the same. I said research question, research objective could be same, could be different also. But hypothesis could be totally different. You can have 4 research questions, but you may have 10 hypotheses because you may have sub-hypotheses from one research question. Okay, for example, like the last Friday, the PhD Viva Bhusi that I have attended with the Taylor's University, I was an external examiner. The student has 4 research questions. but he has 40 hypotheses, 40.
It is not necessary to make it equal, the hypothesis and research question or objectives.
Yes, no.
But the research question and the objectives are supposed to be same.
Can be the same, can be different, but most of the time we expect to be the similar.
And one more question, is it necessary to have the methodological gap in PhD research?
Not necessary, depend on the kind of research problem you have. If you find your research gap is methodological gap, you want to introduce a new methodology, then it's going to be methodological gap. Most of the PhD thesis, you will have knowledge gap and practical gap. Methodology gap is not there, most of the cases. Certain cases only you will have the methodological gap.
I have one more question. That is in case of population, can we determine the numerical value of the population size, not the sample size, the population size?
Why not?
Now, I would want to know. My question is.
Okay, say for example, you want to do a study on online shopping in Malaysia. So the total number of population is impossible to determine numerically. You do not know how many people do online shopping. There's no data available on that. But say for example, you are doing a research on student satisfaction in university, then the total population can be found in numerical. So it depends on the kind of research you are doing.
It depends on the kind of research.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor.
Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, Prof.
Assalam, yes, brother.
Thank you so very much, Prof. Prof, I am actually connecting from Nigeria, and I have a project to do. I'm a PhD student, and my topic is actually on Nigeria's foreign policy and climate change politics. In this case, I want to look at how the international politics surrounding climate change is going to affect the economy of Nigeria, thereby.
Are you applying for PhD degree in Netherlands?
Excuse me, Prof.
There is a Netherlands university applying for that kind of applications for PhD. Are you applying there?
I haven't, Prof. I haven't, Prof.
Okay, I know, because many people contacted me and they proposed this kind of topic. I said, why so many of you asking for that? Because they say, no, they are applying in a Netherlands university for scholarship. So that's why I'm asking you. My network is very wide.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm actually studying in Nigeria.
Okay, fine. Basically,
Yes,
when you talk about politics and those,
I'm a bit lost. I do not know how to even frame my topic. So I am lost. I need some help. Yes.
I got your question. When it comes to research revolving around politics and corruption, all that, very difficult. Okay, so if you want to do a quantitative study, I think you will have serious difficulty. So you may go into qualitative study and then followed by little quantitative study. Okay.
Okay,
so
sir.
You have to go for mixed study, mixed mode.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I think quantitative
Okay, sir.
is a difficulty. The data, how to collect data on political influence and all that, I think very difficult quantitative.
Yes.
Even if you design questionnaire, who is going to fill up that questionnaire for you, and what kind of data they have to give you? I think quite difficult.
Okay, Prof. Prof, I understand that one can combine two theories in a PhD work thesis.
When you say one theory is not enough to capture the research problem you have identified, then you have to introduce more than one theory.
Good. Prof, in this case, in this particular study, I intend to make do with liberalism, as in the international relations. And then, of course, I came across a work just yesterday talking about the philosophy, the Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of non-violence, in essence, talking about peace as a form of theory. I have never had or read any other in any other place. I do not know whether that theory is fit for me to use now.
That's not my area of research. So difficult for me to give you a conclusion.
Okay. I get it. Okay. Thank you so very much, Prof. I appreciate you. I really appreciate you. May God bless you.
Understand me. I have control over certain area of research. Most of the research area, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in any research area. I got little knowledge. So, but in your area, I don't have any knowledge about it. So I'm unable to guide you. Sorry.
Yeah, you are wonderful even at that, Prof.
Thank
you so very much.
Okay.
Yes.
I think the last question, Jamila, the last question.
Okay,
I told Miss Hanun, she told me she prefers to be called as Hanun, Jamila Hanun. I told her this morning, we'll talk to Dr. Sonia, possibly we'll organize one webinar, just question and answer session with me. So we'll keep 3 hours. And then we'll let you ask whatever question you have in any research area. I will try to, I'll be glad to handle that. Okay, so 3 hours question answers in any research area you would like to. So you can present your thesis, your draft, your ideas, and you want me to help you and a bit on that, also possible, no problem. So that one we'll do, inshallah, in August. We will plan with Dr. Sonia. We'll talk to Dr. Sonia. I think she's not sure whether she is online. Dr. Sonia, are you there? Not sure whether she's there. Okay. Possibly Dr. Sonia and upon Jamila and some other universities who are interested, we'll do a collaborative, one just question answers. Question answer with poor Amin. Okay. All right. So participants, basically, thank you very much for your presence, participation, passion, hearing, being with me for 3 hours. I wish I could continue to get more questions from you. Unfortunately, I think we didn't take any pictures. So
we need to do it now, Prof.
Those of you are on, can you please switch on your camera and allow us to take some pictures, please?
Yeah.
Everyone, can you please switch on the camera if it is okay with you? Sisters, of course, you have to get ready. If you're okay, please.
Just before that, a little note, Prof, just to thank you. Yeah. So thank you very much, Professor Dr. Aminul Islam, our eminent speaker from University Malaysia Perlis, Professor Dr. Ayman Sulaiman Al-Khatani, the Dean of Business School of Muta University, for initiating this collaborative work, Assistant Professor Dr. Rula, the co-moderator, and our dear participants who are academics, PhD and master students from more than 50 countries. It's almost 12 a.m. in Malaysia now. I would like to take this opportunity also to thank the School of Graduate Studies of University Technology Malaysia for enabling us to do this collaborative program. So we still have so many questions in hand. Actually, there are so many questions on Facebook and WebEx, but we couldn't do it since we have reached like 12 o'clock now. So as Professor just now mentioned, we will organize another program just for your question and answer session only. We will do that soon. Now let us take some pictures. This is just for our record. So we would like to see your faces if you can. Please switch on your video camera. Thank you.
Would you like to say something, Dr. Rula? The main organizer actually for Muta University.
Yeah, Dr. Rula.
Yes, Prof.
Would you like to say something?
I'm on behalf in Muta University and the Dean, we are thanking the Professor Dr. Amin al-Islam for joining us this webinar, and also the great thanks to you for facilitating this webinar. Thank you a lot.
You're welcome. I think this is my second highest participation in a webinar. No, not second, the third highest. The highest number of participants live I had once is 1,725. That was the highest number of live participants I have in a webinar. Then the second one was about 800 plus. And today I think it was 700 plus in the WebEx, but I don't know how many was in the Facebook, so I'm not sure. Possibly,
Yeah,
definitely.
we're more. So yeah.
Yeah, I think possibly it's 1,500 or could be more based on the Facebook and all. So thank you. I do not know. I feel like I always tell my wife I know so little, and yet many people come to listen to me, and sometimes I feel shy seeing so many faces. I'm not sure how much I could have contributed to your knowledge. I hope that some of my deliberation will be useful to you to complete your research, and hope to see you in some other times. I do have a schedule of number of series of webinars next 2-3 months. Students have a lot of requests. A webinar on in vivo, a webinar on SPSS I have been doing. I have done 2 sessions. The final session I'll do it by next week. The final session on SPSS I'll do it by next week. Then we'll have also a webinar on PLS. We'll have a webinar also on writing impact, high impact journal papers. So there are many on in the schedule. On the schedule, I do have speakers, so there will be few webinars. I won't be speaking. I will let others. I will introduce few other people also. So those are online. So you have to keep in touch with me. You can keep in touch with my Facebook if you want to. I think it's because I'm very selective. I only take those researchers in my Facebook friend. So anybody send me requests, I'll go through the profile. I'll see the Facebook posting, all that. If I don't see anything on research, I won't accept. Okay. So that's how my Facebook is. That's why I still have about 2,500 left. So if you want to join, you can join. You can just type Aminul Islam, AMINUL, Aminul Islam. You can see my photo there. You can
We gave the link. We gave the link also, Prof. Yeah.
Okay. I think Puan Jamila has given you the link in the chat box also. You can join me.
Yeah, those who could not fill, actually, we will also we have the Telegram group and we have the pre-registered group so that we can send them the details.
Yeah, I do have also WhatsApp group, webinar WhatsApp group. First group is full. Third group also going to be full. The second group we still have few. So, but if we need, we'll create another group. So you can be also connected with me in the WhatsApp group. That's where you can ask me question, and I try. My schedule is very packed, but I try to respond to most of the question that the student raise. Even I receive many calls, emails, all that. I try. I always try to answer. And it looks like you are not leaving, as I don't leave. So if you allow me now.
Yeah, then we can close. Yes.
Will you
We
allow
enjoy
me?
your speech.
Sure, thank you so much, Prof.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Can I leave? If
Thank you so
allow
much,
me?
Prof.
Welcome.
Yes, Prof.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Welcome. Assalamu alaikum. And
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
stay safe, stay healthy, and see you.
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Please allow me to leave. Please allow me to leave. Forgive me for leaving now.
Okay, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.